2 seconds, and we're live.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to the 48th edition of the Home Theater Hub. As usual, we got
Had to
the
count on
usual
you,
crew here.
Trevor.
We got Paul. What's going on, Paul? How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, very good. So let's guess what Paul's drinking today. That's the game. What do we got up on tap today?
This is a very common summer beer. Super common. That everyone likes, generally. Just regular old Leinenkugel. Summer shandy.
Okay.
Summer's almost
All right.
over. So gonna drink the shandies, and we'll be switching to stouts and porters and
Well, that
couple weeks.
yeah, it was actually pretty cool in South Florida today. For South Florida, it was in the upper 80s, so it was, for us that's cool, So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So, how about you, Ike? What you been up to?
Nothing, but the Texas weather has been getting down to the 40s the last 2 days. So,
Oh wow,
yes, it's now getting chilly, a little bit cold, and I had to look for my
you got
jacket.
you got
this
your
morning.
blanket on today?
Always, as always, man.
I didn't get to see you put your blanket on today. So
I deliberately made sure you did not.
See, that's why I wait to show up right at 8:30. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see what you guys got going on between the blankets. It's not my cup of tea.
No.
And today we have a featured guest, Mr. Abe from 3D Squared. How are you, Mr. Abe? How are you doing today?
Doing great. Doing well. Very excited to be on the show today. It's the first time I've actually done one of these, so it's kind of a new experience. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, where it's pretty cold. It's going to get down to 35 tonight here.
Oh wow!
And our high today was like 65. So yeah, we're finally in the
beautiful
fall.
Weather, though.
Oh, absolutely. During the day, we're enjoying it.
Yeah, that's beautiful weather. So speaking of weather, I do want to still talk about the unfortunate events that we had in Florida. We did have two hurricanes back to back, and I did find out that unfortunately one of our fellow podcasters really went through some tough times. And Ike, if you can just share this for me.
Just give me a second. Let me do that. I was sharing Abe's screen, so let me.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so unfortunately, Tom Avery, he had a bad encounter with the two hurricanes. So I'm asking everybody to go over here to this donate button over here. Asking everybody to go over and donate through PayPal to help Tom. From what I listened to on this AV Rant podcast today, Tom's pretty much homeless for quite some time. He's living with some in-laws, and I think the water inside of his house was in excess of 3 feet. Tom's been a staple in this industry. He's worked with Gene Dallasala, and he's done writing for other publications. So please go over to their website and donate, PayPal, whatever you can, because as I mentioned, he pretty much lost everything. So
Just got his theater rebuilt from the last disaster that happened, going through all the insurance and stuff. I mean, it was years to get that all, maybe not years, but a couple years. And he literally, I think, just got it finished like a couple months ago, and then this happens. So I can't imagine.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, heart goes out to him and his family, because it's unfortunate, because even some of the guys that I work with, they had some damage, to some relatives' homes and stuff like that. So, it's an unfortunate event that actually happened, and not only did it happen once, but it happened twice in the same area. So, definitely prayers and thoughts are going to the people that are affected by the hurricane. So let's get on a more positive note. So we have Mr. Abe joining us. Mr. Abe is tell us about 3D Squared. Are you a owner? Are you a employee? What do we what's your position at 3D Squared, and what do you guys do?
Okay. Well, so 3D Square was started by Glenn Hoffman, who's a really good friend of mine, and um, we've been designing and building theaters now for 25 plus years. So 3D Squared actually is his company. And then about probably 15 years ago, we decided to partner up. So I'm kind of a business partner with him. I had my own company, which was Kasabi Designs, and then we kind of just slowly started kind of merging our resources. But since he's a lot better than marketing than me, I let him take the reins on marketing, and so we really pushed the 3D Squared brand and services. Uh, and But he's an excellent guy. He's been doing this for quite a long. Excellent graphic designer, and a lot of the theater designs are his designs, and all the artwork that he creates for his theaters are very unique. And so very excited to partnered with him, and we've worked on some amazing theaters together over the last 25 plus years. Um, so typically, he handles all of the art direction, theater designs. I handle the engineering, getting the project management, working with the clients, working with all the trades to get the job done from start to finish. So I'm there for the long haul on these jobs to see them to fruition. I also do all this AV system design, sometimes doing the installation. So you name it, I do it. When it comes to these theaters. But it's a great partnership, and definitely have enjoyed it for many years.
That's awesome. So what what actually brought you to this? What we call a hobby, you call a job. What actually brought you into home theater? What got you interested in it?
Well,
Is this something that you had a passion for prior to being employed or working with your partner?
yeah, well, it's still a hobby for me too, and this was a hobby that I turned into a job. And so it's a which I really don't even consider it work because I enjoy it so much. It's just that we did it so long, and it's the one thing we know how to do really well. That it's become a hobby that definitely I can live off of, which is great. Um, and so that's where it started, just a passion we had for dedicated theaters. And my background, ever since I was back in high school, I've started off in the car stereo industry, and I was big into that. And we did a lot of IASCA competitions, doing high end car stereo systems. And I moved into home audio, and then in the late '90s and early 2000s, really started falling in love with dedicated theaters, and I said, really creating these unique rooms. And back then, we were doing some pretty amazing theater designs, and back with the old 9-inch CRT, three-gun CRT projectors, looked like Volkswagens hanging from the ceiling. Uh, so it's amazing seeing the industry evolve and get better and better, and the technology evolving. So it's definitely been something we continue to enjoy to this day. So it doesn't feel like work; it just feels like just extension of my hobby that just keeps going. So definitely enjoy it.
So do you have a setup at your home, or do you have a private a dedicated room at your home? Is it a multi
Uh,
room?
I always say the cobbler's children have no shoes. You've heard that expression, and I've done literally thousands of these theaters. I have a laboratory upstairs, which is just where I'll test out projectors, I'll test out speakers, I'll make sure. It's usually where I'll set up, where I go and build a rack and rack components so I can do testing, and I'll hook it up to that system just to make sure everything's good. And before I crate everything up and then ship it wherever it's got to go in the United States, that we've got to bring it to it and install it. But one day I will. I've been eyeing my garage because I'm building um, another garage, detached garage, and so this one here attached to my there's going to be a theater. So yeah, so I'm definitely going to have one my own soon. But luckily, I get to live vicariously through all my clients and enjoy their theaters anytime I want. So it's pretty nice.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, as far as home theater itself, um, what are some of the, we were speaking a little bit backstage. I got a little bit of preview to this information, but what are some of the accolades that you carry, with this so-called job? But what are some of the qualifications that you possess? You were telling me a little bit about that prior.
Well, yeah. So my background, I'm a CEDIA certified electronic system designer. And I've been a member of CEDIA now for 25 years, and I'm a very big supporter of CEDIA, and definitely recommend that any really dealer who wants to, give themselves that edge, become a member of CEDIA, get the certification because they're a great resource. So that's definitely something I'm a big believer in. Uh, in addition, I've just been doing it so long for the last 24 years. I've just, a lot of it's just self-taught, learn, the acoustics. I've got a lot of good friends who are acousticians who've kind of taught me a lot. And um, uh, I've taken numerous classes. And I definitely encourage if when anybody has a chance to take classes at CEDIA or CES or HTA or all these other organizations that from some of our industry leaders like Dr. Floyd Toole or Anthony Gramani or any of these guys who are just really good. Take their classes, learn their stuff. And when I was starting out in this industry, I was always at those, and you always learn something. There's always something you can do. Even today, I'll go take a class and get a refresher because oh, there's update kind of new ways to do it. So I'm constantly learning,
That's
and I just
that's
think it makes you
awesome.
better.
That's awesome. So yeah, yeah. I actually stumbled across your guys' website quite some time ago. I was actually looking, um, planning my theater out. Right, I was thinking about how aesthetically I wanted to actually, what can I put into my room, and I stumbled across. I'm going to share this up here with Ike. So Ike, if you can share this here. um, I stumbled across this, and I thought it was just absolutely gorgeous. And this was several years ago, and Gene, who has been on the show, John Anthony, he's 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 I sent these pictures back to him like 4 years ago when I was first starting to design my theater, and I was like, man, I have got to have this pattern in my theater. So I don't know if you guys have seen it, but this is a unique pattern that I believe that you guys designed. Am I correct in that?
Correct. Yeah, that's created by Glenn Hoffman. That's his artwork that he created on those panels. Obviously, except for the
Yeah.
movie poster prints in the back.
Right, right, right. Yeah, so you guys got some really interesting panel designs that, and I really liked this one too. This one was really nice. My theater, my theater chairs are a cream color, so I thought that would just set off the room, perfect. But and I reached out to you guys a while ago, even prior to this. I didn't mention this to you before, but even prior to talking to you about coming on the show, I believe I spoke to Glenn a long time ago about maybe even setting some panels and stuff up like this before for my
Mm.
room. But yeah, I mean, I just love the look of these panels, and we'll go through some of this stuff. But you your main, I guess, purpose or main, I guess, task is actually theater design. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. It's the we'll get a client that's interested in doing a dedicated theater in their home, and and they want a serious listing room for movies, and so we'll get into the design engineering of it to create what's the best possible, environment we can, to kind of not only capture the vision they have for the theater, but also design and engineer it so that it's acoustically correct, and that performance-wise, we're going to deliver something that's going to be amazing from an audio-video standpoint as well. So it's definitely trying to blend a lot of different talents together, from architectural design and interior design, materials, and AV, uh, and just kind of make it all work and make it look seamless, make it look clean. Um, yeah, so that's kind of that's kind of our main focus, is bringing all of that together. And the good thing about this, we've been doing it long enough that there's scale to this. And I kind of feel like theaters should belong to everybody. There's a way to achieve it, and especially nowadays with technology being so cost effectively comparatively to say 20, 30 years ago, you can really do an amazing theater, at pretty much any budget, if you just get the right planning, and you just do things in the right order, and you can really create an amazing room, at any budget. Just, well, have to be realistic to some point, but yeah, but
Yeah.
definitely you can. There's a lot of flexibility nowadays that there used to not be.
So, a question I have is, how soon do you get involved in the design build process? Is it
Oh man, we
something
try to
that
stay as
you,
early as possible. Yeah,
okay?
if they can give us the floor plans before they even break ground, we're happy, because, and that's the ideal time, because then we can kind of say, okay, what's the real estate do we have to work with? Because the very first thing we want to do is, do we have any flexibility to change the shape and size of the room? Can we change the door location? Because we know there's certain shapes and sizes rooms and things that we're going to kind of see, and getting involved as early as possible is key, so that we can really, if especially we have the there's the likelihood that we can kind of massage that space, and maybe change, or, oh yeah, we're so early on, you can move this wall here and there. So the earlier the better, so that we don't limit ourselves to what can be accomplished. We can really do what we want, or give the client exactly what they're looking for, in the most ideal situation possible. But definitely, no matter what stage we're brought in, we'll find a solution. We'll find, okay, what can we do with this environment? What, what do we have to work with? Um, and so that's typically how it starts. The very first question, okay, is this new construction? Is it remodel? How far along are you? Have you broken ground? Oh, the house is in framing, or worst case, the house has been drywalled. Oh my God. Are you okay with ripping off all the drywall and starting over? No. But so we have to know what are our limitations, and then be realistic. Okay, what can be achieved in this space, given that the client's vision for what they want, performance level they're looking, expectations they're looking for, and so we have to find what can we do for that client.
Okay.
So let's talk about you kind of went into it a little bit, right? Where you start off, right? So with what let's talk about your company 3D Squared. Obviously you do theater design. Um,
Mhm.
you have I just was going through a bunch of pictures here, but besides theater design, what other services do you provide? Do you provide calibration? Do you provide for video and audio? Do you provide the actual build? Do you just maybe I just wanted to purchase acoustic panels from you? So if you could go through some of that, what
Yeah,
3D
absolutely.
Squared actually provides.
Yeah, so now, in addition to doing absolutely turnkey theaters, like the whole thing from start to finish, from ground up, we could do that all. Um, we also, yeah, we have clients who will just say, "Hey, I love these panels. Can I order 12 of them in this size?" Sure, no problem. And we'll be more than happy to quote, a panel set. Say, "Hey, I need 10 panels that are 2.5 by 5 or whatever." It'll be okay, no problem. 1 inch, 2 inch, and we've done that. We also do AV consulting, uh, um, or we can do any and all part of that. We do all of the AV system design, can provide and install all of the equipment as well. Um, we have several. Um, acousticians that we work with that if we get hired to do, hey, can you come in and do either pre or post acoustical analysis and setup, we can find them and bring in our guys to go out and do that as well. So pretty much anything related to theaters at any capacity and in any level we can take care of. We can find a solution for you.
I see.
So you provide like recommendations on, do you provide recommendations on like the speakers, the products that will be used in the home
Yeah,
theater?
yeah. Right. So like in some cases, so our clients consist of not only end users who contact us directly to say do their whole theater turnkey, but we work for other theater design companies. We work for other audio video dealers, um, uh, other architects, interior designers, and like in the case of say our audio video dealers. Um, we know what they sell, we know their products they carry. So one of the nice things that they like about it is when we go and dive into the room and we kind of know, what the budgets are and what extremes. The We kind of we provide suggestions on here's the systems we would recommend for this room and this budget, because the room is what's most important to us, and the room dictates everything. So it may not be the most expensive speakers out there. We might say that's just overkill. It doesn't even fit in the room. We're going to choose what's the best assortment of components that does justice for the room, that gives it, and we can maybe even present in kind of a good, better, best, or our good system represents the minimum qualifications we think for optimal performance for this room. But if you want to step up to another level, okay, here's kind of a step up to like mid-range and reference. So we could definitely take the same room and say, here's what we recommend at the minimum level here, but if you want to go all the way, here's what we suggest you could look at for super high end stuff, and or some mixture in between based on budget and performance goals.
So, what would you say one of the smallest rooms that you have designed?
Oh,
Would-
I mean, I've done a 3-seat theater. In fact, I'm working on a 3-seat theater right now for a client, and we're doing a 7.4.6 Dolby Atmos system just in that room. Um, as far as budget wise, or just size wise.
Oh, both size and
It
budget.
could be both.
Yeah, but the most on the lowest end one I think recently we did was maybe 40,000. But the average theaters that we work on are typically around 100,000.
Okay.
For the AV interior and the AV system, for
And
the
the
whole
aesthetics.
Oh, okay,
the whole
so
the whole
that's the
thing is
whole
the
package.
package,
Okay.
and that's typically a kind of a 60-40 split between the system cost and the interior cost. Depending on if the client says, I definitely, what's more important, the aesthetics or the AV system performance. So then we kind of have to balance that budget accordingly. So I've done them as low as 35, 40,000 on the low end. We've done them up as high as $1 million, $2 million on the high end. But I would say that 75 to 150 range is typically where most of the theaters tend to fall just naturally that we've been involved with.
So, have you dabbled in any of the most of the pictures that we went through there? Have you dabbled in any of the AV walls yet? Have you had experience with doing any of those yet?
AV walls. What do you mean?
Like, excuse me, not AV,
The video
the
wall.
the video walls, like like just video walls.
Oh yeah. So that is an emerging trend that we are seeing happen. We definitely been 2-piece projectors for, and that's still 99% of the theaters are 2-piece projection. But we are seeing some video walls. We've done in the design department. We've done probably a handful of theaters, dedicated theaters, and commercial projects where we did video walls, and they were
Okay.
quite interesting. And we did one recently where we designed this 250-inch video wall with like a 0.9 pitch Barco video wall, and the thing was like $400,000 for this video wall. and I was like, it's beautiful, but I was like, wow, okay, that's interesting. It looked cool and everything, but it seems promising, and I definitely see that's probably going to be a trend that might continue, especially as the technology price comes down. But I'm still partial to two-piece projection until we see that evolve. But it does have a lot of promise, and it looks pretty exciting. It definitely
So what
makes
what was your
design easy.
solution for the speakers for the LCR? What was your solution for that? Did you just do
Yeah,
in ceiling?
no, I try to, depending on how much real estate we're taking up on the front wall, because we definitely want to make sure sight lines are still adequate, horizontal and vertical sight lines when we're looking at seating. In this particular room that we had, because we were doing a CinemaScope aspect ratio on the video wall, we had enough space right below the screen. And I want speakers close to ear level as much as possible, no matter what. I try to avoid the ceiling at all costs. That the ceiling is your last resort for LCRs. It's the very last resort when you just have no other place to put them. But in this case, it worked out because of the scope aspect ratio of the screen, and we had enough height. I could put them right below the screen, as close to ear level as I can. But yeah, sometimes when the screens are huge, and yeah,
So did you do
avoid
the
the ceiling if you
LCR?
can.
Did you do the LCR all on a horizontal, or did you put two vertical and
No,
the center horizontal?
they were all right underneath. Just so the LCRs were
Okay.
right underneath. And I can't remember the speakers we were using. I think they were uh, Triad Golds or Triad Platinums. I can't remember. They were all underneath
So,
the screen.
do you
They
work
were
with
gold.
all brands? Do you guys have? Do you work with any brand the customer wants, or do you have preferred vendors you like to work with? Whether or not maybe that's strictly because hey, we can get better deals
We
if
right.
you do.
We try to stay neutral or kind of brand agnostic because we design for so many different people, and we've
Mhm.
designed pretty much with every brand out there. We've done systems with James loudspeakers, with Wilson Audio, with I remember the uh, Focal, Triad, uh, Genelec. Remember Genelec, Cat MBX from back in the day. If you remember those guys. Um, so we've done theaters, pretty much
Um,
everything that's been
do you
manufactured.
have specific brands that you guys recommend for each? I would say price tier.
Yes, yeah. So for our in-house theaters where you're taking care of everything turnkey. Our personal go-to brands that we like, that we've been selling them for so many years, and we know what they're going to do. We love Triad, and we're still loyal to Triad, even though there's shakeups and everybody can have an opinion about Triad. But we still like Triad. I still like the gold, still like the platinums, and we use a lot of those. And the silvers are even some really good ones. So we do a lot of those. James loudspeaker is great. I like them. They're a nice go-to speaker brand. On our high end, we love Synthesis. We've been doing Synthesis now for 25 years, um, and I've gotten so used to the product. I know what it's going to do. I know what it sounds like. I know what it's going to do in that room. So you just get kind of familiar with speakers after a while, and you know what they're supposed to do. It's a familiarity that you have. So
Yep. No,
synthesis
that's fair.
typically is
That's fair because sometimes you might even have another product, and if you work with, you can have something you're familiar. It's like tuning a car, right? If you know Ford engines, you can make a Ford Mustang faster than a Toyota Supra. But if you don't know anything about of course you're a mechanic, stuff, right? But
mm,
at the same time, the longer you work on something specific, the more all its nuances and stuff.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, but we, like I said, we try to stay brand agnostic, and definitely, and luckily, the good thing about us having worked with so many different AV dealers, so many different types of clients, we've got to hear uh, a lot of different systems, and go, "Oh, okay, that was cool. I got to remember that. I like that, how that worked in this room, because we'll get into specifics of if it's a new speaker we haven't worked with, the first thing I want to know is, okay, what are the specs on the speaker? What is its dispersion pattern? I'll have to research so I know, okay, what I'm going to do with it when I put it in the room, and to make sure that I'm doing justice for that particular speaker design, and I'll work with the actual manufacturer and their engineers and say, get their blessing that, hey, did I do this right? Here's my design. Here's everything I knew. And so that's a big thing of us, is to work with those manufacturers, work with their engineers to make sure that we're showcasing their equipment as accurately possible. So when it comes to speakers, to projectors, to the screens, I constantly have conversations with the guys at Stewart, the guys at Screen Innovation, the guys at Barco, guys at JBL Synthesis. And I know all those guys really well. I've been talking to them for 20 years. So I can always pick up the phone and go, hey, did I do this right? Look at this drawing, oh yeah, or I'll talk to the guys at Trenoff, or because right now the big thing is base waveforming. And we're really
Yeah.
excited that, and I've worked with, working with John Heron on a couple projects, and with Trenoff, and picking his brain on base waveforming and make sure I understand how to completely, deal with it and design it. And we love it. I think definitely we're excited about that technology, and we've got 3 theaters in the works right now utilizing Trenoff's base waveforming system. And so we're excited to see how it turned out. So we haven't actually completed one yet, but we're definitely optimistic that they're going to be the game changer when it comes to base management in these dedicated theaters.
And so you would have someone come in and calibrate that system, correct? Or
Yeah.
if I got
Yeah, absolutely.
if that were in the budget, for that. For
yeah,
someone
absolutely. Sorry, I didn't interrupt, but yeah,
No.
definitely. When we're so if we're getting involved in a big job, I'll call up JBL. We'll have whether it's Eric Light or Chris coming in from JBL. We'll fly them out, let them calibrate it. I'll have Barco come out and do the calibration on the projector. Anytime that the budget allows that, definitely I will make sure that happens, so that the client knows, hey, we went through everything we could up to getting the best possible people to come out here and make sure that this system is been tuned and every ounce of performance has been pulled out of that equipment.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
because we don't want to be in the way of that. Our thing is to make sure that the room doesn't affect it. That we've got the balance between getting the AV system designed properly and the interior look of the feel of the room.
So
Yeah,
let's
that's
talk. Do you guys have any further questions about what 3D Square does, what they offer?
I was going to ask about, so you work across the U.S. Do you travel? Do you work with local contractors wherever you get a project? How does that work?
Yeah, we work all over. So in fact, we've gone out of the country. We've put theaters in South America. We did a theater for a client in Guyana, as far which was an interesting experience, and we enjoyed it. It was a very eye-opening experience there. We did an amazing theater. We've done theaters in Europe. So yeah, we've gone everywhere, and yeah, I typically am out somewhere. So we've got several jobs right now in Florida. We've got a couple in California, one in New Jersey, one in Arkansas. So yeah, we go everywhere. Wherever the job is, we try to go there. And then if it's part of a new construction, we're gonna, like in the one in Arkansas, it's part of a new home build. It's like a 30,000 square foot home, and so we're working with the trades to tailor what we want done in the theater. So I'm working with their framers, their electrician. They're great. These guys are amazing. So typically we have good people that we run into on these build projects, and we just kind of tailor, hey, here, when you get to the wall construction with the framing, here's what we need done, and we'll provide all the trade documentation. Here's the framing details, here's the electrical, and I've got examples of that I can show a little later, of all the details that we go into to specify everything. And if it's close enough, and say the client doesn't have that, we have resources. We've got people we can call on for framing, for electrical, depending on.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. What percentage of the jobs do you see literally from the ground up that you're not dealing with another, let's say another dealer? Is that something that you guys, do on a regular, or is that something that what's your percentage on theaters with dealers that have already got their customer and they call on you versus, hey, I want to call 3D Squared right now and I want them just to do my whole soup to nuts, right?
Right.
So what's that percentage look like for you guys? Do you know?
Well, right now, actually, like 80% of the jobs we got going right now are all in-house jobs where we're doing the whole thing turnkey. We've got two that are from one of our AV dealer partners who brought us in to help them out with the theater. So we're going to design the theater. They're going to do the AV. They're going to provide and install the AV system. We're going to work with them on that, make sure it's implemented correctly. Yeah, so right now, majority of the ones we have right now are in-house, where clients have contacted us, the end users have contacted us directly,
Okay.
and work on them. So, and we love that because we love building those relationships with those end users and get them excited, and it's kind of nice. We definitely
So
enjoy those opportunities.
So do you, let's say like a person like myself, I've already got all my equipment. Paul will tell you I've had it for 3 years sitting in my dining room. Um, but no, I've already got all my equipment. Am I a candidate for, somebody that, like myself, that's already picked out my equipment? Can you work with someone like myself to help me, with my design, to help me with aesthetics, and maybe even some acoustic treatments and stuff like that? Am I a candidate for, or do I have to start from the very beginning to have your company help us out?
No, absolutely. We could help you out right where you're at, because the very first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to know about the environment. We want to know about the room. So the very first call action is, okay, can you send me pictures of the room? Can you send me a dimension drawing of the room? Let me study the room, because the room is what's most important to me, because that's what tells me everything. And then I'll ask questions like, okay, what do you envision for the space? What is your equipment that you want to use? So I'll take all of that in and say, okay, what can I do with this? Like, what can I give them? What is the best way that I can optimize the size of the room, the vision he has for the room, the equipment he has, and then guide guide you on, like, what can we do, what's available, what's your option. Everything will start with, as you and I have talked before, on some type of design. We gotta have a game plan. We gotta put this down on paper, put it in CAD, engineer it, and sort it out. See, okay, what are we looking at? What are we dealing with? Look at the sight lines. Look at the acoustical analysis on the room. Figure out, hey, is this equipment, or all this equipment that you picked, is it optimal? We might look at it and go, hey, well, based on the sight lines, if we use a different screen or a different aspect ratio, and then we'll have those discussions and find out, or no, we're golden. Everything you got works perfect. So yeah, so we can definitely work with anyone at any stage and provide the right guidance on how to utilize what you have to the best of the room's ability, to give you the performance you're trying to expect, that you want to achieve.
Hey, can you pop up Rob Johnson's comment for me, Mr. Ike?
Is it on the 8K or which one?
No, it says first you got to finish your drywall.
Yeah.
So let me share my screen. Just
Abe doesn't want your drywall done. He wants to know if he can move a room. He's ready to, and if he sees your drywall, I'm sure he will want to take it down.
All right.
Like,
so just to
down.
give you guys an update, the walls, the ceiling, everything is done. I have 3 windows left. Well, I had 3 windows left. So this was what I've been working on here. So as you can see, I'm going to be putting a piece of drywall literally across this section right here. And I found myself with this gap here. And I was only going to be using a 1/2-inch piece of drywall to put across here. So what I did was, just because I'm so anal and I like to be a perfectionist, and Abe, maybe you can answer this for me, but I didn't want sound leaking. As you can see, I got double drywall, I got green glue, I got 9 inches of insulation in the back to a concrete wall, right? So I got a room with inside of a room with tons of insulation. Well, I didn't want any gaps there. So this is what I did. I took that 1/2 inch piece of drywall that's going to butt up against to those wood and window frame pieces. I put a 5/8 piece of drywall, the width of that opening. I green glued it on both sides and then used that piece of wood backer to actually fill in that whole area. So I actually got a completed window right now, and I'm halfway through another one. So the drywall jokes might stop sooner than later.
Well, they're still there though. Are you done? Are you done? I mean, the clock's still ticking, you know. I mean, 2 years ago you said, "Hey, I only have a few pieces of drywall to go."
Hey man, I got 1 day a week, and that's barely enough time. That's barely enough. So, but yeah, no. So just to give you guys a quick update. So, Abe, what are your thoughts on that? Should I have even worried about double drywalling that area there?
Well, I was gonna kind of think because the window itself is still is your flanking point, is still the weak point in the wall. It does kind of slightly negate the all of that mass you added to the wall, but not to say that that mass isn't going to help you in some respect. But the window is still is a big old hole in the wall,
Right.
You can
as
put a
opposed to having
temporary baffle in there though, right? Like all the way.
it
Like
is.
So
we filled that with
So the
board.
plan is to cover this completely up,
Yeah.
right? With and create like a window plug on a panel, kind
Right.
of like you guys designed. So there will be some mass behind the window, all in that window
And
frames,
and that
and
would be
that'll
helpful is to create maybe create a bezel piece that could be there that you can put in some type of sealant, some type of plug that can be kind of either friction fitted or bolt or fitted or screwed
yeah.
attached to
My
some method
idea is literally
to
to put hinges on either side and have literally like a picture frame box built in to go as deep as it can on this window with a backing, right? With a maybe this will be like a 1x6 or a 1x8 piece of wood, widthwise, and put some hinges on it to where, look, if I do want to open that panel, I could swing that panel to either direction, whatever direction I put the hinges, and that way it's not always a dark room, right? This is actually my front door right here, so we do use this window to see who's at the front door. Sometimes, so I do have a Ring camera, but and my wife's too short to look out the peephole, so. But
and yeah, but anything that you could do to kind of negate some of the loss there, and add some, especially from when you're going to be in that room for some for movie watching, and you want you want to just kind of uh, have something that you can cover over that window and plug it, and just to anything that you can do is going to be helpful with that. Yeah.
yeah, I just my pure OCD wouldn't allow me just to hang a 1/2 inch piece of drywall up there and call it okay, right? And I even did the same thing in these speaker boxes here, because when I framed it, I literally have like a speaker, like a cavity, almost like that window there, and I did the same exact thing in those areas too. So it's like I said, my OCD just wouldn't allow me just to put that one piece up there. How much it's going to affect, probably none at all, right? But I just, personally, I couldn't just leave it like that. And
Yeah.
even if Anthony
No, so
Germani or yourself or somebody else tells me, "Hey, that's not even going to matter. Don't worry about it," it's just in my personality that I got to do it.
I think you did a good job
yeah.
personally. Like I give people advice all day long on soundproofing, sound treatment. Soundproofing wise, you can never do too much. Now, the question is, Don, do you have sound putty behind your power plugs? That's
Yes.
You're gonna, so you're good, dude. I mean, you're going
Yeah.
all the way. Just go all the way, bro. I mean, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Eric,
I mean,
meet Abe.
it never.
Eric is a regular on the show. He's got a beautiful
Oh,
theater too. So he's been a regular on the show. We
cool.
as I mentioned to you, we like to have people just pop in and pop out. So if you guys want to join the show, by all means, uh, hop in and hop out. But thanks for
Cool.
joining the show, Eric. How are you?
I'm good, brother. I loved your guest, and I wanted to join in and ask questions, and yeah, man, I'm happy to be here.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
awesome. So Abe, if
Yeah,
you
I do
wouldn't
like that
mind,
silly putty. Yeah, definitely, because yeah, you definitely want to cover every pinhole you want, because it doesn't matter how much sound isolation. If you have one little tiny hole, it can affect sound. So I do agree with the silly putty, and there's all kind of different products to covering those junction boxes we recommend. So,
And here's the thing:
yeah, and
is
I'm
but
putting
definitely
I'm
good.
putting
you're still gonna be hating life. You're still gonna be hating life because you have to have a door in your room. A lot of it's negated by depending on your HVAC, right? You're gonna have air that takes and exhausts out of the room. There's so much that you can do to it, but the door is going to be your weak point. So,
If you look
Yeah,
in commercial spaces, they have kick plates that when you close the door, it literally drops down.
they'll
and
drop down.
Yeah.
Yep. hmm
for a fire.
yeah,
For a
Yep.
fire.
in our theaters, we have a variety of acoustical door systems that we utilize. But in a lot of our entry level to mid range theater, at minimum, we usually recommend it can be as simple as just doing like an 1 3/4 solid core door with a heavy duty weather stripping seal, like take it on Zero International, or there's a part number as a I think 835. It's a mortised door seal that gets mortise. It's a door seal system that gets mortise in the bottom rail of the door, and when you close, it has a little spring that pushes a little gasket right down onto the threshold.
Yeah, that's the brand that I've
Yeah,
that
Part
I've
358
seen.
zero, and doing a nice door seal gasket so that you can get when it closes, it seals.
What brand did
At
you say
minimum,
that
Right.
was?
that's going to help you out.
What brand did you say that was for the
Hmm?
door? Because I'm actually looking to replace my home theater door. What brand did you say
Well,
that was?
Well, the door can be any. I mean, any for at minimum, like any 1 3/4 solid core door. So you just want to make sure
Yeah.
it's a solid core door.
Yeah.
It's not a raised panel door. It's a slab door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do have different grades of solid core doors, and there's acoustical doors that have lead lining, or not lead lining, but different types of lining in it for acoustical properties. But for practical purposes,
Yeah.
at minimum, just using like a standard 1 3/4 solid core door with a heavy duty door seal system. I would look at I forgot who bought Pack or Zero International. It's another company. They've got bought out by another company. But the Part 350A is the door seal that you can put on the bottom of that door, and I think the door seal is a 864, which is the perimeter door gasket that goes on the doorstop.
Yeah.
And that works really good as a basic system for sound isolation at the door.
Yeah, because I
and
think
there's
trademark
quite
sells
there's
that
quite a few of them.
hardware. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
TM
quite a
Hardware, I
few.
think, is
So
trademark hardware.
my only concern here, and I brought it up. Oh man, my light's turned down. My only concern though, and I want to bring this up because this could be a bigger issue if you have central AC. You don't have dedicated HVAC in that room. HVAC is built for intake and exhaust, right? So if you're exhausting nothing out of the room, your intake is the exhaust to your main AC system is going to suffer from that because they do calculations based off of what's coming in and what's coming out. And so I'd recommend if you're going to seal off your room in that way to look at mini splits. Mini splits are expensive. I did go ahead and do that in my room for the reason of I wanted to seal it off. But if you don't have a mini split, you have a central AC, it's going to get extremely hot and uncomfortable in your room. And it's not even just heat. And we're, a few of us are in Texas, so heat's a consideration. It's not just heat. It's going to get very stuffy in that room if you don't have airflow in and out of the room. So that becomes another lovely thing you have to think about in this hobby. Throwing that out there.
So what are your thoughts on that, Abe?
Yeah, and he's absolutely correct. And that is one of the very first things that we are engineering when we start a project is the HVAC system, locating where the supply and return vents are. And typically, our standard recommendation is that all theaters should have its own independent supply and return system and its own independent thermostat. If we can get away with it, that's what we recommend. Every room should, because you're going to seal this room up. You need to have control. Otherwise, that room's going to either overpressurize or underpressurize, depending on how it's designed. But you definitely need to have independent supply and return if you can manage that. And typically, in new construction, it's not a problem. We can get that accommodated for, or we have to work with the HVAC engineers to calculate, exactly how we're going to achieve, the what we need done. And then we also have recommendations for actually how to install the HVAC ducts. How we want so many. We want drop air. We don't want a rush of air coming through the vents. So we calculate what's the proper CFM, what's the size of the registers, so that we get air that kind of just falls into the theater. So HVAC design is up there. One of the first things that we're doing in a theater is placing that and understanding the size that we need and where to place it aesthetically too within the design of the room. So very critical point, but definitely you have to think about that definitely if you start sealing up this room. So he's absolutely correct on that.
And that's the reason that I mentioned
as
that,
of right now,
Don, is I wanted you to think about that a little bit before you're sealing off the room, or Ike is sealing off the room. Just wanted to mention that.
I definitely
understand that.
Yeah, so the mini splits are a good system, and I've seen some kind of DIY theaters where they're using mini split, and we obviously we're trying to avoid having anything in the room, but if we can avoid it, if we can get it part of its own independent system, that's the ideal. But we understand that's a costly comparatively, a good worst case would be doing a mini split, but definitely you got to have some control. He's correct, and you got to have something, whether it's a mini split on one end or it's actually its own dedicated, thermostat supply and return system. And working with a good contractor.
I looked at doing a mini split. I just don't like the actual mini split being in the room like you just mentioned, because let's face it, they're fairly noisy. So I know they have in ceiling ones, right? So I've looked at those. As for right now, I just went ahead and I extended the duct that was already in the room. If it's not going to be enough, the good news is that I have 3 exterior walls, right? So I can easily punch through and put a mini split on one of the sides if I need to, or something like that. So it wouldn't be very hard for me. And with that 9 inches of gap between the wall and the exterior, I got room to run cables. I got room to do everything that I need to do if necessary, to put a separate zone in there. The only problem is for me is that all the power is on the total opposite side of the house. So I would have to wrap conduit all the way around my house, which is ugly as hell. So, and you know about the Florida houses, they're solid block, right? They're, so the only way you're getting power is either going under your driveway, which, I don't want to, tunnel under my driveway, or is to go around the whole house conduit, which I do have some conduit that goes for my exterior lights. It's on the exterior of the house, and I hate it every time I look at it, to be honest with you. So, but so for that purpose, I decided just to let's see what the AC does. I know it's not going to be 100% soundproof. I do have an intake and one register in there that was in my office prior. I had an AC guy come over and ask him, say, look, I added, X number of square feet. I forgot what the garage was, but I think it was like 12 by 18. I added this. Is this something that this is going to be able to handle? And he said it should be able to handle it. However, I have an upstairs and a downstairs unit for my AC. And I just replaced the upstairs unit. I went from a 3-ton to a 3.5 ton. And when I have to replace the bottom, which I probably will replace that this year coming up in 2025, I'll probably go to a 4-ton unit at that time, just to make sure I got enough air push for the additional square feet that I added. So yeah, AC was definitely taken into consideration, HVAC. So thank you for bringing that up. It's definitely something that I considered, when doing it.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't mean to redirect the whole conversation to HVAC, which is like
No, you're
one of those boring topics.
Hey, that's important.
no.
A lot of people don't think about it. They build these rooms. They know they worry about acoustics, but then they forget, hey, I got to be comfortable. I got to be able to enjoy. I'm going to seal this door up. I don't want it to get too hot and stuffy or too cold, or yeah. So that does become a concern. Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially if
absolutely.
you start filling it up with 6 or 8 people in there, it's going to get hot soon.
I learned that lesson. Like I said, I'm from Texas. Ike is here with me. It gets extremely hot,
Really
and
hot,
even
yeah.
so, we have a 3,200 square foot house, and we have a big room. That's why we bought it, so we could put my theater room in an oversized room. And we replaced our main HVAC system with a 5-ton. It was a 5-ton, and we still had to put mini splits in all of the rooms to try and make up for it. So that's why we put a mini split in here. But as long as you have an intake and exhaust in the same room, seal it up. You're good to go. So we can end that boring conversation. I apologize. It's important, but it's
Luckily,
sexy.
the office was half of the room. Was the front half, was the back half of the room. That office was like 13.5 by 18, and then I knocked that garage wall down, and so that the office already had the return and the output register in it already. So yeah. So I definitely understand what you're talking about there. So Abe, let's talk about
how pissed off is your wife about the fact that she hasn't had an office or a garage now for like years? That's what.
Here's the thing. I have a 3-car garage. So there was a 1-car garage on one portion of the house, and on the flat side of the house there's a 2-car garage. So
nice.
So that's what, when I purchased the house, that was my whole entire, that matter of fact, let me see if I can take you back on memory lane here real quick, since you brought it up. We'll go ahead and look at it. But
I'm sorry, Abe.
Basically,
I'm sorry, brother.
Yeah, no problem.
So basically, let me share this picture right here. Go ahead and share this.
And for the record, Don, you have a beautiful home, brother.
Thank you. So this is the garage that I knocked down. So that's and as you saw in that prior picture, that kind of extends out from the front of the house. So as you can see, it's kind of like an L shape, just for this garage and that office, and then the front of my house was the other garage over there. But yeah, so I knocked that wall down. As you can see, this was already tiled and everything else like that. I'll be honest with you, if I had to redo everything all over, I probably wouldn't have knocked the wall down, just because of the time that it has taken me to get this done. Now, if I hired somebody to do this, and everybody did, got it done within, say a 4 or 5 month time, absolutely open it up and do it. But with me doing the work and just the amount of time that it's taken me, I think I would have been enjoying movies a lot sooner. I would have just dropped in walls in these walls over here, and the front, I would have just had like some tower speakers, But but yeah, I mean, if I were to do it all over again without paying somebody, I probably would have just kept it at the 13 wide by 18 deep. But now it'll wind up being 16 wide by 23 and a half deep. So
and I'll say I think it's worth it. Honestly, like, so I've got a 20 by 12 and a half minus some weird cubbies I've got in my room, and I wish I had the width. That's so like 25 by 15 is my ideal, someplace in there. So I'll just say I think the pain's going to be worth it, brother. I love your space. I just want to see it done,
yeah.
and I'm going to paint now.
All right, so Abe, let me get off my soapbox with my theater. Take us. You mentioned that HVAC was a starting point for you guys, so let's talk about theater
Yeah,
design. Let's talk about
sure.
what does it take for me. If I'm starting from scratch, what do you guys look at, and if you could just go through some steps on theater design and what are some key
Sure.
points.
So I've got my CAD open. So the very first thing that we're going
Can
to
you
do,
can you share that screen again? Just hit the share.
yeah,
Yeah, it dropped off. So let's.
okay, should be.
Yeah, I'll pull it up now. I see it. Okay, and then.
Okay. So the very first thing that so I'll give you an example. This is one where this was part of remodel. So when we got there, um, the client was remodeling. This was a older home, and then remodeling. This was a kind of a formal living room area. There used to be a fireplace right here, and then they wanted to create this room into a theater. So we went there. We started, and they had already kind of started the remodel. So we immediately went there, started taking pictures, taking measurements of the space, seeing what's all there to work with, and then uh, took really extensive measurements of what's in the space. Then we did put that into CAD. I'll go into model space here. So what we're going to do is we're going to model this room in CAD, and then we're going to start. In addition to having conversation with the client, or like, what are you envisioning for the space? What kind of features do you want? So our very first thing is to start with some preliminary designs, like coming up with elevations. Like, definitely for this client, they wanted something, kind of classical. That they loved red and gold. So, and we get that request a lot for these red and gold theaters. And I'm not a big. I've done so many of them. Kind of not like to see something else, but we definitely, luckily, getting a lot of other stuff. So, but I enjoy doing them. They do turn out really nice. So, to give you an idea, so then we'll do a concept rendering. So we'll do an elevation drawing, all the elevations, and then we'll have a rendering saying, okay, something like this, based on their input. So yeah, I like that. So also at that presentation of showing them the preliminary design drawings and the rendering, we'll also be showing them an estimate for the cost of the interior budget, and the AV system, you know, the whole turnkey. Like, here's where we're going. Are we in the right steps? And then from there is where we kind of have to massage some of the details and to make sure we meet budgets. Like in this particular iteration of the design, these header pieces, we ended up killing those just because they were so expensive to manufacture, and killing these little extra decorative things. So in the end, what turned out, which still looks quite amazing, I'll show you the end product, is this one. So this is the completed theater of that same room. A lot of red and gold, as you can see there. This is also, I got to point this out. This panel right here, this acoustic panel, is actually on a hinge. This opens up because we had a fireplace right here. We wanted to utilize the space that was depth, so we made a hidden storage unit that they have all of their blankets and accessories and stuff in, which worked out pretty good. So it's a very simple, classical design. Here's a picture of the curtain closing. They want a motorized curtain. You don't see that much anymore. People wanting a motorized curtain, so it was kind of fun to put that back in a design.
That's
I think
pretty
it's
cool.
cool.
And that's the rear view. There, and again, this was an area where we had a fiber optic ceiling actually planned for this room, and then that got, from a budget standpoint, got nixed. But it's been prepared that if they ever want to add it, they can add the fiber optic ceiling into the space.
So
Um,
what do you? Let me ask you this about the fiber optic ceiling. Do you custom make those panels
yeah,
yourself, or is that something that you?
we have before, but we have a company now that makes them for us, and they custom make them for us now.
Okay.
Fabricated, and which we love. So, and they'll cut out for the speakers. We'll extend the vents down and bring it into the panel, into the ceiling. But like I said, it starts with, just knowing, starting with the plan, seeing what's there, seeing what we have to work with. And then we'll have conversations on, with the engineers and the framers on HVAC. And because let me show you this back in the CAD. So when we get into the CAD, so like I said, once we present the elevations and the rendering, and we know we have a design direction, that's when we start diving into the engineering, into the sound isolation materials, into the wall construction details, into the frame, all the details related to framing, the electrical layout, where we're putting in dimension, like here's the zone layouts for the lighting, and we've got everything figured out. Where a supply and return vent's going to go in the room, uh, and we, and then we start working with the trades to specify, okay, here's how we want the wall frame, and we'll have build details like, okay, oh, well, I haven't been. That's the little door seal we were talking about earlier for the door, little 350A, by the way. Side note there, but we'll get into like, here's the wall construction details for how we want the soffit framed, or here's details for the screen wall framing, and here's the interaction of the little header we have for the curtain track. And so we'll provide all these details, and then we'll work with the framer to get all that done. And that's all in these detail pages.
So
Uh,
is this someone that has to have a construction background to know, how to design all the total build out, right? The framing build out. So
yeah. So in this case, we worked with her contractor to tailor, because he was doing a full remodel of the entire house. So when it came to the theater, after we had done the design and after we created all these design drawings, we had a big meeting with him, with the framer, with the electrician, with the HVAC contractors, and then said, okay, here's how we want this room framed and stuff. And then because this room is kind of a specialty, they then provided whatever kind of change order or additional cost there was for them to complete that work, to give us what we wanted in the room. And then we basically use all of them to get us to drywall, to the surface material. And then we come in and we're actually doing the interior design. So our crews come in and put in all the acoustic treatments. Actually, in this case, this particular one, we actually, the contractor was just an amazing guy. He did all the millwork. So like all the millwork you see in that,
Oh wow,
in that theater, he did that.
that's amazing. I want to tell people that's rare. That's crazy.
Well, we specified, so all this. So we specified this. We sourced all of this millwork, but his installation technique was really good. So we were going to use our guy, but we liked what he did in the rest of the house. So we said, okay, you want to do the millwork? So we gave him the installation job. And his finisher did a great job painting it. So these are all custom moldings that we had done by a company. I think they're in North Carolina or something, that did all of these custom freeze moldings and all of these decorative rails, and then he finished them and installed them, and they turned out very good.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
And I'll say, Don, to your point of, do you need this? Like my thought on that is, I'm on the third iteration of the build of a few different rooms now for me personally, and I've helped with, I don't know, 50 to 75 builds on the Build Montage Discord that came to fruition at various price levels. You can do this DIY as long as you're willing to invest thousands of hours into research and then figure and then backing up the research with more research online to figure out the science behind it, these companies do that for you. And that's
Yeah.
so I mean, and this entire hobby boils down to me. It's either time or money, right? It's 100%. I mean, that's all you could say. It's time or money. Like, I've spent lots and lots of time researching to get to where I'm at to help people. And Abe's company, from what I can see here, does even a better job than what I've done to help people in skipping that money, or the time rather. I'm sorry. He injects the money. You're gonna have to pay for it, but you don't have to research the thousands of hours and trial and error that I've gone through to get to the point where I could maybe do something like this. So that would be my interjection for anybody who's looking at doing a theater room. It's time or money, 100%.
Yeah, actually, absolutely right. I mean, that's what you when you hire a company like us or any kind of company like us, we've done thousands of these rooms. We've made every mistake you're going to make. That's what I always say, and I continue to make mistakes. But there's nothing wrong because you learn from mistakes. But we've made everything you're going to encounter. I've encountered it already in some way, shape, or form. And so what you pay for is the expertise, is the history, is the history of doing this over 25 years
Yep.
and seeing every possible scenario out there and having a solution for those situations and finding what's the best way to optimize the results, and get the best performance out of the room. And like I said, but and I'm always learning. And trying to make these better and better. So it's just a knowledge base you build over doing it over so many years. And yeah.
So when designing a theater, what would you say? What would be your top 5 things that you look at, or top 10 things that you look at when actually designing a theater? Like, if I come to you, I say I got a 23 and a half foot long room by 18-foot wide room. Go.
Hmm. Well,
What are some of the key
very
points that you look at for that?
well, yeah. Like I said, I'm gonna take what I've got to work with and put it in CAD, look at it, do some analysis on it. I'm gonna run some. And well, the very first question I'm gonna ask is, okay, is seats. One of the most important things I want to know is how many people are you looking to sit in the theater at one given time? And just to go back to cover sheet here for a second.
And to add to that, Abe, I would like to know at what point in this process do you start thinking about acoustics in that design?
Yeah, good point. Early on, because let me get back to the floor plan here on this one, for instance. So one of the very first questions we asked, in addition to, what are you envisioning for the space? Because I definitely want to know what are the end result. First, I'm going to start with what do they want to see when they walk in that room, as far as aesthetics, design, and then I'll ask them what do you want to, and then performance. We'll talk about AV, like, is this going to be a room dedicated purely for movies, or where you want to maximize it for film, where we're talking about doing something like scope. We're doing 2, 3, 5-to-1, because typically, if I want a serious room, then we're doing scope. Or no, I want it multi-purpose. Okay, then we're doing maybe 16:9. So so that you can watch sporting events in it. So I want to get a feel from the client of their expectations of how they're going to utilize the space. Then once I kind of have the vision, I understand where they're going, and I know and then we'll kind of lightly talk about budgets and things of that nature. Then I'm going to ask, okay, then we start going to have the acoustic conversation. How important is preventing sound from exiting this space or entering this space? Where is it located in the house? For instance, if it's right underneath the baby's room, I'm going to say, well, okay, we need to concern ourselves with sound isolation. And when we do theater designs, there's 2 ways you need to think about the sound. There's sound isolation, and then there's sound control. Sound isolation has to do with what we do to the wall construction layers, like Don did for his room, and figuring out, okay, what is the mass of layers or the composition of layers we need to achieve sound isolation, to keep sound from both entering this room and exiting this room. and that's going to be a critical discussion, which has an impact on the the construction costs. So we're going to have that conversation on how critical that is. Like, in a client, and because we're going to decline, no, there's a cost related to that. And I said, no, this is, and like one client I did, it was a detached garage. It was above the detached garage. It was not on part of the main house. We had a little bit more flexibility. We'd have to be so extreme in our sound
Right.
isolation. We could save some money and direct that money somewhere else. Either just some other category that we need to cover in the theater. Then after sound isolation is kind of understood, then it's a function of sound control. Okay, and that's where we think that's our main expertise is blending not only the aesthetic look and feel of the room, but understanding where do we need to put acoustic treatments? How are we taming how sound is acting in the space through combinations of absorptive material, reflective material, diffusive material. What is the millwork doing in the room? What are the seats doing in the room? So we're going to want to know, how is sound reacting to this space? So that's when we get into like some acoustical modelings, and it can be very basic, like where we're just trying to figure out, okay, what's the room mode? What's the room modes in this room? Then I've got and it could be as simple as me just pulling up a simple sheet, putting in the length, width, and height of the room, figuring out, okay, where's my primary residence? Where's my secondary residence? Understanding of that nature, what's happening to the room. Doing an RT60 calculation, which this has nothing plugged. This is a very basic Excel sheet that I did just so that I could get a plug. It's based on airing equation for sound target RT60 calculation. And it gives me at least an insight. Okay, I gotta have so much absorption, so much reflection, diffusion, on the low
That's
end.
good
Or
stuff. What are you using, Abe, for the measurements?
No, this is
well,
calculations. So he's
this
basing
is
it
just
off of
calculation. So I'm putting the length,
STC
width, and height of the room.
material and stuff.
Right,
I'm
and like,
assuming.
so this one I can come in here and like, well, how I utilize this little particular spreadsheet I make, I'll do the calculation on how much surface area of absorptive material I have, how much surface area of
Gotcha.
painted drywall millwork. It'll spit out at least a rough idea of what's going to be the RT60 calc based on the physical materials that are in that design to give me at least an idea
Got
of
it.
what's happening. Then it's going to be a matter of, okay, where to exactly place those things, and that's a whole nother conversation. But this at least will spit out something down and dirty that I can get an idea of what's going on.
No, I
You
like
can
it.
get
I like it, 'cause past that, you're going to have to get into software, and if you want to go even further, acoustician. So, no, I
yeah.
like
So
it.
to give you,
Can you
give
send
you
me
the
that
extreme,
spreadsheet?
no. But I'll give you some.
Yeah, send me
That's
your million hours of
Yeah.
spreadsheet work
I
for
will
it.
give you some links to some people who have done similar things. And eventually, one day, I'll publish this because it's not that difficult, really. It's not an amazing thing, but yeah. But I'll give you some stuff. So this will give you the other end where I'm like bringing in an acoustician. So I have a really good acoustician for Bordeaux Acoustics, which just Ethan Bordeaux's a good friend of mine, and he's a licensed, or how would you call it, registered acoustician, and he does they do concert halls and all kind of crazy stuff. So I got him hooked on doing theaters for me, and so he'll do his modeling, and he uses a program called Treble, which he was one of the people who helped develop that program that does acoustical modeling, and then he'll get in there and he'll figure out reverberation time and frequency response. He'll do all his predictive analysis, and he'll, based on my design, to make sure that I've placed things where exactly they need to be. And I trust his judgment. So I just basically tell him, tell me where to put shit. You know, that's
Right.
that's my main thing I want from him. Or tell me where I've put stuff works. Based on the modeling.
So
So we'll
I've
get
heard the
into
name
where we'll
Trouble
actually
before,
place.
but I thought that was made. Oh, sorry, brother. We got a delay.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask. I've heard of Trouble before, but I thought it was for large, like very large spaces. Does it also
No,
translate down to? Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, it is actually simpler. It does a great job in small rooms. And the cool thing about Treble, is, and he showed me, and I'm still learning it myself, but I let him do it. Is you can put you put your headphones on, and he can recreate. He can tell. Actually, I can actually hear what the room is going to sound like based on like we'll take this room here, and based on all the composition of materials and all the different acoustical products we're using, from the diffusive absorptive materials in the room, he can give me a live like example of what's this room going to sound like, and he can show me the before and after. We can make changes, like
Wow.
what if we flip these diffusive with these absorptives? Let's see what the room sounds like then. And so it's a great way to make sure that, you know, we did the best job we could, like, you know, that we definitely planned for exactly, like in the ceiling, we've got a bunch of different materials, absorptive, diffusive materials. And I don't know if you can see that, but, you know, we'll have a little legend here that tells you, you know, these are the materials we're using. And this is all behind Stretch Fabric's frame system in this particular case. Um,
Man,
So
that's
so
awesome.
yeah,
who
so
is your
I'll
go-to
utilize.
for who's your go-to for diffusion? And obviously, you make your own absorption, or do you make your own diffusion also?
No, Kinetics. We love Kinetics. We've used a lot of Kinetics products in the past. So like this is all like in this particular theater I just pulled up. This is all Kinetics. This is their hard side acoustical panels. And then this is that's just their regular acoustic panels, and then their high tone diffusers. So this is a combination of high tones diffusers, their TAD absorbers, which is a diffuser absorber product, which they all have a different composition. They all have a different acoustical property, and the combination of these three products is what we use on this particular job. This is very similar to like the RPG bad diffuser, where they have the patterned hole pattern, and you know it's got, you know, the absorptive material underneath, the fiberglass material. So using a combination and then letting the acoustician go to town, figuring out, okay, where do we want to place these materials in the room, and then do your modeling based on that to see, did we do a good job of placing them? Is that where we wanted to place them? Um, and so yeah, so this is the other extreme of like, okay, of theater design. You know, if we're getting into some serious, you know, acoustical design, and we want to know exactly where everything's going to go. We want it modeled. We want it to know we've done it right. And in this case, I had two different acousticians do this design work, so I can understand I'm doing it right. But again, this is extreme, but you would be amazed just in a basic room by just taking care of the basics, going back to something like this and just understanding just the normal stuff, like the shape of the room modes, the first reflection points. You'd be amazed at how much just taking care of those basic things can add value or add performance to your room at any cost. Uh, so
Yeah,
yeah, so
I'll 100% attest. And Abe, I'm gonna say, dude, I'm sold. Like for what nothing it's worth, you're a very smart man, and I can already tell you're providing an amazing product that I'll never be able to afford. But I'll say through my experience of trying to help folks out in the research I've done, like just the very basics of like first, second reflection points on the
right,
side walls and on the ceiling, and then some absorption diffusion in the back wall. 100%. Like I've got
oh yeah,
I've got my room. I have just Def Tech. Like I've got very expensive stuff in my room, but all of my speakers are just Def Tech. And people
Mhm.
come in here with $200,000 rooms are like blown away with what Def Tech does, and I'm like, it's not Def Tech. You can make mediocre speakers sound really good with basic treatment. You can make very expensive speakers sound like crap with no treatment. And so I'm signing off, man.
No, let me tell you, you actually repeated something I say to clients almost all the time. It's almost the same thing. I said, the room will make or break the system, and I say the same thing. In the properly treated room, you can make an inexpensive basic system, or in the wrong room. No matter how much you spend on the system, you can put $100,000 worth of speakers, but if you don't treat the room, it's for nothing. You know, you can destroy the performance of that system. So exactly right, that the room is going to be critical. no matter what you're spending, whether it's a home theater in a box or it's $100,000, worth of Wilson speakers. You know, definitely you could do so much justice by just paying attention to the basics of the room. Just like you said, knowing where your first reflection points are, and like this room, for
Just the
instance.
basics.
Yeah, this room, it doesn't have to be so critical all the time. We don't have to overkill ourselves with understanding every single element. This room is what we call level one. This is really, these are just absorptive panels. We did do a lot of, I mean, there's some sound, we did a lot in the sound isolation in this room to block out sound, but really this is just 1 inch thick acoustic panels. And this is kind of basic. And just knowing, just this sounds amazing and we're happy with it.
So I was going to go on this because on your website, and I've actually I've read through your website a couple times. On your website, it talks about that you guys actually go through. I was trying to locate it here, but let me go here. Where's the website at? So up in the top where it says more, it says Acoustics 101. So you guys go through on your website like reverberation time. You go through NRC ratings, sound absorption, and somewhere else on the website it actually talked about that you find that you don't have to use super thick absorbing material, that you found that you can get away with doing 1 inch material. Can you explain that? Because I do see that in a lot of your theater builds, the panels aren't 6 and 8 inches thick, and
Right.
So if you can help me out with that.
Yeah, the thing, and it definitely, you could drive yourself crazy going to like AVS forum and getting sucked into countless conversations with everybody and their mother has an opinion on what you should be doing in your theater. And I sometimes just stay away from AVS forum because it's just, I don't want to go in there and dive into something and have a million people share their opinion, because sometimes how do I politely tell them you don't necessarily need to do that, or that that's not necessary. And so I've just kind of like, I gotta get out of here. Because
And a lot of
it's
people
just,
don't know, Abe. A lot of people
And
don't know on those forums. They
don't, and I feel
just
sorry for them.
they read and they just post stuff, and they don't have real world experience.
Right.
So
And
here's
then
an
you got
example of
those
that.
are on that
It's
where
not
they just,
necessary to place panels on the ceiling if you have a carpeted room, because the sound energy is emitted from the center channel tends to not bounce from the floor to the ceiling and back to the floor. So that it's just stuff like this that you guys have found in your years and years of experience is definitely a help. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm ready to hang diffusion from the ceiling, I'm ready to hang sound clouds, I'm ready to hang all kind of stuff, but I have a I'm going to be having carpet in the room.
Yeah.
you
We're
definitely
gonna
have
fight.
yeah.
We're gonna
Well,
fight.
like
We're gonna
in this
fight on
theater,
that one.
yeah, a bit like like on this theater, yeah, we did do a lot of acoustical. Like there is a lot of absorption and diffusion on the ceiling. I don't know if my screen is shared, but
Let me
screen.
pull that up.
Yeah.
Just a second.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will
So
say, that sound from a speaker goes up and down, and it doesn't matter if it's a center channel or left, right, surrounds. It goes up and down, and carpet and the padding below the carpet does help, but the sound is going to come out of a speaker in all directions, and
right.
so when I said I'm going to fight about you don't need anything on the ceiling, it's still going to bounce from the ceiling and it's still going to hit the
There,
listener
right. There
at the
there
first
still is a first
reflection.
reflection point. There's on the ceiling. Yeah. So yeah, while yes, it's you can take care of that. What we've found that, I mean, if we can put it in there, do it. Yeah, you're never going to hurt anything
You
by,
don't have to.
okay, figure out that first
You're right.
reflection
You
point.
don't have to.
But
I'll say
it's
you
not the
don't
end of
have
the world
to.
if you don't. Right. Well, like in this
Yes.
theater, we went to the extreme, and we've got diffusion, we've got absorptive on the ceiling, all based on the acoustical now. Because when we did the modeling, when we did the heat modeling, it turned out, well, where we did it in here, we wanted to know exactly, what's happening as sound is reverberating in this room. And so we wanted to put treatments up on the ceilings. But in some of these very entry level basic theaters, you can, but sometimes you don't have that because there's lights there, or there's a vent register there, or there's all kind of things. So if you can put it there, put it there. It's not gonna. Yeah, you definitely will take care of that first reflection
Yeah.
point on the ceiling.
I'll 100%. We're talking the same language, Abe. I'm like
Yeah.
entry level. I mean, yeah, ceiling is
Oh,
extra credit. Extra
right.
credit for the ceiling.
It's extra credit. It's extra credit. Yeah, because I find a lot of, especially a lot of do-it-yourselfers who are doing these entry-level theaters, they get overly obsessed with things that they don't have to get obsessed with. It. You're going to have a great sounding room. You don't have to stress. Just take care of the basics. Take care of your first reflection points. Take care of your slap echo. Get your speakers in the right. Start with some really good speakers. Definitely, if I had to weight one thing in a theater budget, is speakers, because they're going to be stuck in your wall. You're never going to take them out. They are the most mechanical, the most abused thing in the theater system. So if I had to put any budget and weight it toward quality, well-built, robust speakers, and put them in the right spot.
And what speakers do you weight? Do you weight what speakers are more important? Spend more here, spend more there, spend less here.
Well, just the speaker system overall, as a weight of the entire budget, definitely speakers need to be, considered, higher up than other parts of the budget. But
it was actually that was a trick question. So the reason I'm asking that is I always recommend because and it sounds like you and I have similar conversations, except for I don't charge for it because I'm a sucker and I just help people. But I tell people like spend more on the subwoofers. Good subwoofers are going to make mediocre speakers sound better because it's just going to be a fuller sound, right? So I say center speaker, subwoofers, then left and right, followed by surround speakers from a cost perspective. Like going to the point where I'll go to the next series above for the center speaker over the rest of the speakers, and then for the subwoofers, I'll say spend double on the subwoofers over.
You know where you need to spend the money first? Talking to you, Don. Drywall.
Oh my gosh.
Drywall.
Oh my gosh, dude. We had to have a comedy break.
You had to dig deep for that one.
Yeah, I did.
That's funny. Yeah.
I actually though I do want to hear your thoughts.
It's all about the cables, man. It's all about the speaker cables, man.
If you don't have $80,000 speaker cables, you're just not even hearing those.
Yeah, it don't matter, man.
Let's see if I can.
Speakers.
Now, okay, I'll do one little comedy thing on that. So at M-Wave, not this year, the year before this year, they did a cable test. They had like Quest speaker, like the expensive ass speakers, and then like mono price and all that. The speaker wire that won wasn't a speaker wire; it was hanger wire. It was a blind test. They did a blind test, and hangers won for speaker wire. So I'm gonna throw that out there. But Abe, let's go back. Let's do this.
Yeah. So, well, our default, no matter what brand, whether it's Triad or James or KLH or any of these brands, any brand from JBL, I want my LCRs to be all timbre matched. I want them all the same. I want my LCRs to be exactly the same. So, like for instance, just like what I got pulled up here. So I've got 3 SCL1 JBLs behind the screen. We have 4 SSW3 subs. This is a base waveforming room that we're working on. This is 4 SSW3s in the front, and we have 4 in the back. Actually, 6 in the back. SSW3s on the back wall, if I'm not mistaken. But 6 SSW1. Excuse me, SSW1s. These are big monsters. These subs are monsters.
They're huge.
Yeah, they're huge.
What are they like? What are they like? 3.5, 4 feet wide and like 5 feet tall, something like that.
They're 350 pounds each.
Yeah,
wow.
I saw them at
700 pounds.
I saw them at Cedia. They're ridiculous.
Yeah,
And they're
yeah,
also
they're
like what, like $10,000 a piece or something like that.
they're up there. Yeah, they're up there.
Yeah.
But even I like, no matter if it's something as massive as this, or but definitely I like my LCRs to be all timbre matched, to be all the same. So if you're doing triad, even if you're doing triad bronze, but do three. Now on the front end, I may do like you were saying, have maybe do triad golds for my LCRs and maybe triad silvers as my surrounds, or triad silvers as the fronts, triad bronze as my surrounds. But definitely, I'll put a little bit more, but I definitely like to have all three of my front speakers be the same from timbre matching, just for panning. I want everything to be equal, and I want to line all my drivers and keep everything coherent
So
on
Abe,
that.
let's pull back to like a DIY situation. And I agree,
Yeah,
they all have to be timber matched. 100% have to be like the same brand, timber
yeah.
matched. If I have,
Well, I'll
let's
give you
go
this
to a
example.
like $5,000 budget, I'm gonna tell somebody spend $3,000 on the center channel and $1,000 on the left and right. That's kind of where I was going. Is the
I mean, you
center channel
can.
more
Yeah.
expensive
Like
because
this
it
theater
has
has the most. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, we're cutting each other off because of the delay. But go ahead.
No, so like this theater, this is a very basic audio system, and and actually I was kind of skeptical, but this client really liked KLH, and he wanted these KLH speakers. I was like, oh, good, I heard them; they're not bad. So KLH makes a set of in walls called Maxwell, a very inexpensive speaker. I think these speakers were like, I don't know, $850 each. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. So we did it. So it's what the client wanted, and it fit his budget. So we've got three Maxwell 8650s, I think there are, in the behind the screen, and we've got two Stratton 12 subwoofers that are behind the screen wall. Now this is a perforated acoustical transparent screen wall there, but the subwoofers are there, and it sounds great. Then we did the same speakers for the sidewalls. So in the columns, and this is all behind acoustically transparent fabric, so you don't see any speakers in this room. But we use the same speaker for the sides and rears, for the front and then let's see, front wise. And then
What's more important is, do they have LEDs behind the screen so they can turn that on to show the speakers through the screen?
no, but that guy, the one I'm doing the massive bass wave for, said we've got just special lighting that he'll press a button, it'll illuminate, backlight all the speakers. So behind the fabric, it'll silhouette
Very
all the
nice.
speakers in this room. So
I'm
it'll look
telling
badass.
anybody who's watching this, y'all need to do that for your room. It's sexy as hell. It needs to
It
happen.
is, yeah. We did a mock up for them, and it's badass because we have these like
Some
special LEDs that are.
there are some
Yeah.
people out there that don't like LEDs. I've talked to plenty of people that just want a pure blacked out theater, and
I mean, not while you're
to
watching.
each his own.
Well, it's
You
LED
can
light in
have
the
it.
back of the frame just
Yeah,
to turn
It
on to
just
silhouette.
it's just a flex. Yeah, it's just a
to
flex count.
showcase it. It's
Yeah.
not while
Man,
you're watching the movie.
I still, when I'm watching concerts on the big screen, on the 150-inch screen, nobody cares how much detail is on their face, and I turn
Yeah.
on the interactive LED lights in the whole room. Dude, people feel like they're at the friggin' concert. You just
Yeah, if it's not a
black the whole
critical,
room. And the
yeah,
lights, yeah, they're still, you every time they light up, you see the room. But you feel like you're more there than you do just watching a TV that's a black hole.
yeah. If I'm having fun with friends and with
Yeah,
the projectors
exactly.
on, I don't care about HDR quality at that point. I'm just having
Yeah.
a good time. If you're not critically
I mean, if I'm
watching,
mastering a movie, sure, yes, I want full black.
yeah.
I activated my YouTube background for you there, Paul.
Oh, awesome. There you
Yeah,
go.
so, but definitely, I mean, if I just getting back to the speaker topic, I mean, I like to have everything timbre matched.
Yeah.
And if I can use the same speaker everywhere, I'll do it. I want the same. I want everything to be. I want the tonal quality to be identical everywhere in the room, as best possible. And like, here's another one. These are all. I think these are triad golds. I think that's in this room.
I work
behind
in a world that compromises, Abe. That's the basis of my question was like, have you ever put thought, because you're obviously building rooms for people to tell you, I've got 100K. build me a room, or you have a company that comes to you and says, this is what we're building, and here's the budget for it. So you're 100%, like what you're saying is right. My question is more of, I work with DIYers, and they're saying I've got 10 grand, so much lower budget. I've helped somebody design $1 million room, but that's few and far
Well, like I
between.
said, this
so
whole
tell
speaker
people.
system. I'm sorry. Yeah. So yeah, this whole
Yeah, I was
speaker
just gonna
system, I
say,
think,
I just
was
tell people spend more on the center and the subwoofers, left and right next, and then the surrounds and then overheads. But I'm
right.
done talking. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. My and everybody's got a preference, definitely, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I would say even like this, I think this entire speaker system was like 7,500 for the everything, the all the speakers and the subs, if I can't remember it right, and it did great.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I've heard of people, getting, let's say, a Utopia Focal Utopia and then doing like, a lower model for the left and right. But I've never, I'm with you on that, Abe. I think that you should, I mean, look, if you can do what, 17, 16, 15 speakers, the exact same speaker around the whole entire room, I think that, me personally, I think that you're going to get a better experience.
Yeah.
Just because every driver is exactly the same, everything is exactly the same, 100%. So I'm with you on that also. Unfortunately, when you get into Atmos, right, you can't put a tower speaker on the roof.
Yeah,
You
I
can, I
mean,
Yeah,
guess.
you can,
right.
but it might fall
And
on
there's
you.
not as much going on up there that you could, yeah, you don't, yeah, as long as it's timbre match stuff, like, I mean, like when we're doing that JBL systems, we're using the eights, the SCL eights, which is timbre match with the SCL 7. So we'll, like in a theater, we're doing all SCL 7s for the surrounds, SCL 8s for this in ceiling
Mhm.
Atmos speakers, and SCL 2s or SCL 1s in the front end. And then we'll do
So
SSW3s.
when you're designing the theater, are you looking at, I have to hit reference volume? Is that what you're looking at for every seat,
No,
or are you looking
well,
at?
for these big
Okay,
theaters, yeah, for big theaters, yeah, we're looking at whatever the guidelines are for reference levels and THX levels and all kind of levels. But for the entry level theaters, we're more like, what's the best bang for the budget? What's going to give us the goal we need for the size of the room? Because there is a limitation that, okay, this room's too big for that KLH package that you want to put in there. It's not going to work. It's too small. It cannot push enough air to your distance of your chair. We need something more. So we sometimes have to have serious conversations with them, and it might be something like that Chris, right down there,
Eric,
who's in the
Eric.
theater.
Eric.
Eric said, where I might say, like what you said, okay, in an extreme situation, yeah, maybe we need to spend more on the left or right or the center because we just need a bigger driver up there because of the distance you are to the listening position so that the sound can reach you. That this little teeny speaker is not going to make it, you know?
Well,
So,
my main point in bringing that up is
no, it's a good,
simply to say it's like 60 to 80%. And given this is a dedicated movie room, right? It's a theater room.
right.
60 to 80% of all of the sound that you're going to hear in a theater room out of a movie is coming from your center channel. So if that's
Sure.
the case, that's a big portion of your budget, your speaker budget, that should be coming into the center channel, right? The second, and I would say even more important than that is going to be the subwoofers, only because of the point that drives that you feel that, right? That brings the feeling into the movie. So then you have subwoofers that are bumping you, and if you're not spending enough on a subwoofer that can't get to the right frequencies and can't push enough power so that you feel it, you're missing that part of the experience. And then the 60 to 80% of the sound coming out of your center channel, you should logically be spending. And I 100% agree with you, Abe. Timbre matched is even more important than anything that I'm talking about from an LCR, surround, and even overhead perspective. But from an experience perspective, you need to be spending more on your subwoofers because they're going to be picking up the slack from the experience, and this is just coming from somebody who's built multiple iterations of my own theater room, who's got thousands of hours in. It's the subwoofers pick up so much slack. So I went from I'm broke, I don't have a degree, I don't make good money, and so I'm going to get a Def Tech tower that has subwoofers built into it, and I'm not going to get a subwoofer because they're built into my towers. That's good enough, right? And so I dealt with that for years because I didn't know any better. And
what about people that are and Paul brings up a good point here. What about people that run a phantom center, right? What if they're running a left and a right, and doing
and
a
they're going to
phantom
have to
center?
put more. And I don't have a problem with Phantom Center. I've actually messed around with it with doing just stereo music left and right, which isn't the same. But because of the good experience that I had with just doing stereo with music, I was like, let's see what happens with sound, or with movies rather. Sorry, and I was impressed, to be honest. But that's because I have my left and right isn't the most expensive, but they're a couple $1,000s a piece, and they picked up that slack. But what now if you have $500 speakers, $200 speakers?
I'm with Abe to the point where if I would almost tell someone to spend less money on 3 matching speakers than spend more money on a center channel that doesn't timbre match, because I can tell you, your soundstage going left to right, and people to test to see how good your timbre match is right now, turn off that center channel, sit directly in the center, and see how well things pan, and then turn on your
Paul,
center.
I said they have to be timbre matched. Paul, I said that. That's the most important thing that I said.
Yeah, but generally,
be timbre matched. So
if you're spending, you don't need to spend more money on a center, though.
Hold on. There's a point here.
Do that.
So if you know,
you have to spend
if you go to Def Tech,
generally. Yeah.
Paul, this is why people say that we hate each other, even though we don't. So we're talking about.
Well, let's let Abe get back, because I got a couple more questions to him, and we're already 45.
Oh, we're 10, 15.
No,
yeah.
Like I said, I can say that none of these are bad answers or wrong answers.
Yeah.
They're good. It's all what works best for the particular environment. But the room is what's going to tell us what we need. And when it comes to subwoofers, how much cubic volume of space do I need to pressurize? And the client says I only have a budget for 1 sub. That's not going to work. We're going to have to talk. We're going to have a serious conversation. Where can we pull some of this budget so we can get the adequate amount of subwoofers we need for this room to pressurize this particular size? So really, it all goes back to the room and finding out, okay, what do we need the room to have? We need subwoofers that have, we need enough subwoofers to pressurize, 2,000 cubic feet or whatever it is that we're trying to pressurize, and based on the size and shape of the room. And then, we got to look at the modal issues, and we obviously want to use multiple subs. And okay, so all of that plays into effect. So none of these are wrong. It's just finding what's the right combination, and doing the best with what we got, doing the best with what you have. And
so are you looking for tactile bass in every theater, or because look, a lot of us that are in this hobby, we're bass heads, right? Most of us came from the car audio industry, where or the car, to where we want to feel that bass, we want to feel the vibrations of our pants legs. But for most of your clients, I can't imagine that a lot of them are asking for, I want this thing to rattle me out of my seat, right? They just want a nice even blend across the high end theater. Am I correct in that, or is most of your clients saying, hey, I need this subwoofer to, I need a 50-inch Ascendo in my room,
Well, I can tell you, like, for instance, this now when we go through the design process, obviously we're looking for the proper amount of bass response. We want good, even tonal response, good, even bass response across room. And so we'll place the right combination, whether it's 4 or 6 subs. And I'm a big fan of multiple smaller subs sometimes do a job, so just to get a good even tonal response in the bass response curves.
So
But
you're
like
not
this
doing
client
the
for
Iasca DB drag. You're not doing the Iasca or USAC DB drags in people's theater rooms. Because
yeah,
I
well,
see that a
we do
lot.
back in the car
People,
stereo days.
that's
That's
really all they care about.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Well, and like even for this
And
client
I'll say, so
who we're
I'll
doing this big. Go ahead. I
no,
was gonna say what I was gonna say. Even for this client, honestly, I kind of felt like these SW1s are just overkill for this room, but he wanted them, and I'm like, okay. I say, so we're definitely not even. We're gonna turn down some horsepower here, so because I just think it's way too much. But I figured it's okay to have. I'm okay with him having more because we can always just contain it. We can tame it down how we need it. Uh,
Yep.
we have the headroom, if you will, to do what we want with it.
Right.
Um, so I'm okay with that, and also talking to the guys at Trenoff and JBL, when we did the acoustical design, everybody's excited to see what this room does because no one's put this many SFW1s in this particular configuration for this size room before. So it'll be kind of interesting to what happens. But
that guy's
um,
ridiculous.
yeah, it's just a little, yeah. But so sometimes I do talk clients out of it. It's like you don't necessarily need that, or that's not enough. It might be that conversation, but it'll be what's best for the room to get good bass. And I do like good tactile bass. We'll make a note about that when we do design our platforms. One of the
So
things,
with
and I don't
the
know detail.
with the waveforming, I don't know how experienced you are yet with that. Do you need each sub to be able to semi-pressurize the room to be able to do full waveforming in that?
I want to step in there, Paul, because I've actually been in Ryan's room, and I think that's what's been alluded to a few times here with the 50-inch Ascendos. Uh, I went to M Wave this year, and he has his 50-inch sub. I think you may have been in there too, Ike. Uh, that's the best sounding room I've ever been in, and it changed my mind 100% with how LFE works and what you need in a room. And I'll say Abe is 100% right with you do the best you can with the budget you're dealing with. But when you're dealing with a 1.5 million room that Ryan built, what I found that blew my mind was different size subs all specialize at different frequencies. And what they built was X size 12-inch, X size 16-inch, X
Right.
size 32-inch, X size 50-inch. And what came out was the best sounding room that I've ever been in my life. I'll never touch it. I'll never be able to do anything even close in my room. And my buddy and I that were in there were like, I wish I had never heard that because we're just never, we're
Yeah, so-
never
Yeah,
gonna
and
get that.
When I mentioned the 50-inch sub, it was definitely not directed towards Ryan because I sat in Ryan's theater also, and it was the 50-inch sub barely moved, so it wasn't overpowering. It wasn't anything.
No.
It was blended. It was blended very well. And I actually listened to their podcast the other day, Jonathan and him, and he said it's even more dialed in now. So I can't wait to get back out there and hear it again
wow.
because
Yeah.
they spent 5 days calibrating that. Matt Trinkline and others spent 5 days calibrating that system. They
That's
have the
crazy.
Ascendo
And I
Black
heard it. I
Swan.
heard it. Like Ryan was making excuses for days when I was in there with my buddy, and I was still like, "Why would you do this to people that can't afford this? Like this is abuse, dude. Like this is wrong, man.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing sounding room. I'm never going back. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. So the question, one question that I have for you, Abe, is, a lot of these designs that we're seeing here, look, most of these high end rooms, or even not even so high end, but most of the rooms that we're looking at here, they all have in wall speakers. You mentioned that you worked with Wilson before. Obviously, those are towers, right? I don't think they make an in wall. What percentage of rooms do you do that involve towers? Because some people do like the look of the speaker. Some people like to see the speakers out in the room.
Right. Yeah. And well, working on it now for a client that has a Focal Sophia, I believe.
Mhm.
and they want to show them off. Let me see if I can have an elevation of it.
Still high end though.
Yeah. So this is opening up in a second here.
I don't think the Sophias are that
Oh,
high up on there.
Sophias are not. No, they're not. You're
Yeah,
right.
so yeah, so in this case, he wants to show off his speaker. So we just did a simple CinemaScope screen wall, and he's got them all right there.
What is it, Sophia or is it Sopra?
Sopra, yeah.
The
Yeah,
Sopras are
Sopras are high end.
they're
Yeah,
about
Sopra.
20,000 a piece or 15,000
Yep.
a piece, something like that.
The
Right,
guy
this
I
is
was
the-
talking about earlier with a $300,000 room, he has Sopras.
Yeah. So they're Sopra N3s. We've got two GL Audio F12. And this guy already had he already actually had the speakers already when we started the
Yeah.
shop. So Focal 1000. I talked him in upgrading these side and rears because he had the lower model, and we went to
The 300s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I said, just get this 1000. You spent this much on towers, go ahead and get these for the sides and rears.
Right.
And then we've got two GL Audio.
Yeah, you actually get the same beryllium tweeter in that 1000 that you have in the Sopra too. So that's very good
'Cause
advice on that.
Yeah, he wasn't timber matched. Yeah.
Yeah. So simple. We did a nice little decorative stage. So his focus, his concentration. He wants to show off his speakers. He wants to see them. So
Wait, what center is that?
that's the Sopra Center. That's the Sopra Center. It's the timbre match center that goes with these towers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sopra
Yeah. So
N3,
what
Center.
my friend did, he has the Sopras, and he put the Focal 1000 behind the Utopia 1000 behind his screen,
Mhm.
and that way he could drop the screen, a little bit lower, and still have the tweeters aligned across that. So, but yeah, no, that's fantastic to know that you work with people that are actually doing towers also, because some people, they obviously like to show off their speakers, like you said. I mean, those Sopras are beautiful. I definitely can understand why he wants to.
Oh yeah.
And if he's got the white ones, they're even more beautiful because they look like stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Except for you have to cover them in velvet when you're watching a movie, because otherwise that's all you're seeing.
Yeah. Well, but I've even taken the concept on a very basic entry level speaker. Like, so this little theater here, where this is a very simple entry level theater where we did this is the old movie monster movies. We printed on acoustic fabric and wrapped around the acoustic panel. So this client was big fans of that genre, so this is what they wanted, and we've got a fiber optic ceiling up there in the ceiling and everything. But
do you care to share the name of the company that's putting out those poster acoustic?
that's 3D Squared. That's all us.
Oh, you guys are making your own? Okay.
We make all this. Yeah, we made all this. Everything you see, except for the chairs. We didn't make the chairs. But yeah, so that's a screen there.
What was the name of the company again, and where are you guys located?
3D Squared. We're in. We've got in Boca. We're located in Boca, and in Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta. I work in the Atlanta office.
Yeah, this is.
I was late to join, so I appreciate it.
No problem.
These are local guys to me. Probably about, I don't know, about maybe about 20 minutes. I'm to the west. They're off to the east over. I think Boca extends west too, so I'm
Yeah.
not exactly sure what part of Boca, but they're local to us. I love to support local business. So that was a big part of me having these guys on here. I reached out to Abe's partner and set me up with Abe. But yeah, I mean, just the panels. Like I said, when I first saw these panels, I had to reach out to them a long time ago, thinking that these are the panels that I wanted to do, because until I decided that I didn't want to see any more speakers. So this is the room that you were just showing, correct? You built
So this is right. So this is a very entry level. This is a pair of KLH forgot the model number, but KLH floor standing speakers. But so we built a screen wall, and we've got a perfect screen. So when we put all the acoustic panels on the front here, we're going to mount the screen. It's going to hide all that, and we've got the place for the subwoofers. So when it's all done, you don't see it. But so we were able to use towers and build a screen wall. So there's all kind of
So
different ways you can
let me
do it.
ask you what you do. So are these speakers rear ported or are they ported at all? Do you know?
I can't remember on this one.
I was just curious because if you have, because this is what I'm going with. Well, not this particular speaker, but I have the Martin Logan 60 XTIs, and I'm going to be I contemplating building a stage type of atmosphere like this. But mine are rear ported, so I'm kind of worried about the what do you guys do for like a rear ported tower speaker like this that is going to be close to the
Well,
walls?
we just make sure we put it. We just make sure we have enough airspace behind it based on the recommendations from the manufacturer.
Okay.
So if we need to bring it out more, we'll have to bring it out more based on that. But this was a basic theater, and it was simple. We just put towers. We built a screen wall, put these speakers behind it. Now this is before we finished up with the acoustic treatments behind here. We had more absorption here. This is during the installation phase. But this, and I actually love this room. I think it's when I was actually pleasantly surprised when we finished doing this room, how good it sounded with a very entry level speaker system. And there's the little Maxwell speakers in the wall there. This is during the installation.
And that's some of your panels there, right? Can you show those a little more up close?
Well, yeah. This is before we put them up. Yeah, they're just absorptive panels, and we wrap the fabric. And then we just mount them on the wall. And now where the speaker, like if there was a panel here, we're going to cut out for where the speaker is behind the fabric, because the fabric is acoustically transparent. So we'll notch out the acoustic material of where the speaker is.
Very good. So let's talk about aesthetics. What drives you? You guys on your website, I mean, just absolutely got some beautiful theaters, put together on the website. I don't know. Let me see if I can go back to that and pull some of these up. Theater designs. Let's go down here.
A finished theater. That's the key, right?
Absolutely. So, can you share that?
Yes, let me do that.
Yeah, I mean that's just a full view from screen with a wide shot. I don't know if you still see my screen or not.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Which screen do you want me to share now, Don?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead and share his screen real quick. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying that this picture was just the finished view
Oh,
of that same theater.
Yeah, that looks amazing. Looks like films at home theater.
Yeah.
I need those. I like those sconces, man.
Yeah, those are awesome looking. Yeah.
And like I said, this is basic. I mean, this is a nice, simple room. It looks great, and it was it was a entry level speaker system. But when you pay attention to placement, design, layout, you'd be amazed at what you could achieve by just taking care of the basics of the room.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, it's. Let's see here.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Mike, if you could just pop up. I just wanted to go through some more of your designs that you guys have done here. So, all right, carpet. You guys have done a fantastic job with carpet in all these theaters. Where do you source your carpet, if you don't mind, or is that something that you want to hold to the vest?
No, I don't mind sharing. I mean, a great resource for carpet is Joy Carpets. Joy has a lot of different theatrical carpets. Now we're authorized dealers, I guess if you will, of Joy. For high end, we use Ulster. I think it is. Yeah, they do an Axminster wool. So like a lot of higher end theaters, we're using Axminster wool or something like from Ulster, which is made in Ireland, and we have it imported and install, which is, we love that carpet. It looks gorgeous.
So, are you looking for more of a plush or more of an industrial flat type of
No,
carpet?
we want a good grade commercial. So typically we're using a broadloom or a nylon sisal or an Axminster wool. We want a tight weave. We want some, and we like the broadloom and the nylon sisal carpets. They last long. They have a nice pattern. They have a lot of patterns to them, and
This one's one of my
they're
favorite.
durable. And I don't remember what carpet that one was, but and that one.
I love the geometrical shapes on this. Just a pure modern design, with the gaps. So now, are these like one full panel that you put together, or is this all
Whole
individual panels?
whole bunch of little panels, whole bunch of panels, and then there's a couple of different ways we can do that. We have like an inset reveal in all those little gaps, and then we place the panels inside there, um, or we'll have like a little blocking piece that'll space them out.
So, question: How are you attaching these without seeing like screw heads and stuff like that? Are you friction fitting these? Are you putting brackets inside and then friction fitting them on, or what's the installation process for this?
Depending on how it's manufactured, sometimes they're pin nailed in. We pin nail them in with brad nails.
Okay.
We'll liquid nail them on. Sometimes we'll spot them with liquid nail and then pin nail them. Or if they're in a panel system, or if they're framed, they're part of the frame system, and then we mount the frames. Or they're cased inside the millwork. They're we put them in there, friction fit them, and then case them out,
Okay.
or trim them out. It depends on if we have to remove it or not. Like if we need to make it removable, then we'll design it such that we can make it removable. It could be on Z clips. Sometimes like if it's individual frame panel, like the one you saw with the monster movie, those are on Z clips. So all those panels can pop right off. They just mount.
Just buy a bunch of Velcro, Don. Buy a bunch of Velcro.
We've done some stuff with like industrial strength Velcro and stuck it on there, and it worked just great.
Yeah, it's legit. Yeah, I wasn't kidding. People don't really. There's a million ways to do.
A million ways. Yeah,
like
it just depends on what we're trying to achieve. It depends on how warped the wall is. And
that
we've
is
tried.
An amazing room.
That's
like that.
Gorgeous right there.
Backlit glass, or is that?
No, they're just the way it's printed. It's got Glenn probably can speak to more about how he printed that artwork on that fabric. But we lit it with very special lighting that kind of illuminates that.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
But that's all acoustic panel too. That's all acoustic fabric wrapped on the panel.
That was cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that one's definitely
Who doesn't
cool.
like Bond? I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I like this modern look too.
You just need to get some command strips.
yeah.
When you're done, just pull it down.
Yeah, that way
That one's pretty awesome too. The BioShock. I used to love that game. That's unbelievable.
I haven't seen that one in a while. Yeah, that was a client who loved that video game, and he wanted a theater inspired by BioShock. So we sat there and researched that video game for like a month just to understand and we played it and just made sure we could kind of understand what's this game about, what is going to be some elements we want to have in the room, and this is the design we came up. And actually this was our first or second design iteration, and we thought we weren't there yet, and he loved it. Like, no, I want this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so you got the cloud absorption up here also. Now you can see them suspended. Mm-hmm. So Glenn's definitely got a great eye for interior design. That's something where I lack, right? I can build stuff, but when it comes to
look ugly when I do.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I just hope that when the final product is done, that it doesn't excuse my language, look like shit, right? Because I want it to look just as aesthetically pleasing as it's going to sound
That
and
that would
be.
suck, man. Don't make us wait all this long. And
Yeah, the longer you make us wait, the more we're expecting. To be honest,
I got builder's paralysis right now just because of that. I want it to look good, right? I want it to
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
I want it to match good. I want colors to pop in certain areas. I don't want to overdo too much
I
of
like that
of
one.
one color. Which one?
This
The
one.
Dallas one?
No, the red.
Dude,
Dude,
I hope you
stop
don't
it,
like the
man.
Dallas one.
Stop it.
Uh,
Don't go there. Just
yeah,
hit
yeah. Is that
next.
the one you
No,
like? The one
not that
the one
one.
that whoops you? I mean,
This
yeah,
one.
no.
The Grand Teton or whatever it's called.
Grand Teton, yeah, in Colorado, Wyoming, yeah, Colorado.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
does
We do
look
a
nice.
lot
It's
of
definitely different.
Yeah, we get a lot of these what we call these immersive theater rooms where we do these panoramics. So that's just one gigantic picture that we printed over several panels to create a kind of like you're looking out windows out the Grand Tetons. And we've done the underwater one before, and they're fun. The theme, kind of a theme theater. They're definitely unique.
Yeah, I thought about doing a Florida State theme to where you could like see the whole stadium, kind of like that. Everything,
Yeah,
just the whole stadium completely. I think you had an
we have one.
iteration of
Yeah, like
something
something
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That looks like it's a Chicago theme one because that's the Bulls and I think that's the Bears there, right? So yeah, Chicago sports teams.
I
Yep.
think that was actually in a. I'm not mistaken. I think that was for a locker room. So it's like in a locker. I think it's at a stadium. I can't remember. It's been
Okay.
a long time. Like it was for a sports team that did, like that's like the break room or something, or near the break room.
So any more theater design question, guys, that you have for Abe?
Yep. Please put them in the chat and we'll get to them. I think we've covered most of the ones that
Yeah, they
Yeah.
look
were
amazing. It's great.
already.
So, what's the length of time that it generally takes you from contact to completion?
Well, typically the first phase will be kind of the preliminary design phase, which is where we're gathering all information to create that first set of drawings, that preliminary set that's going to show the elevations, the floor plan, the reflected ceiling layout. Um, and then we'll show, sight line, like you saw some of the drawings where we'll show the viewing angles from the seated position, and just enough to capture that. That takes about 2 to 3 weeks to present that, just in the time of gathering information and doing all the drafting and engineering,
Yeah.
to create that first preliminary design set. Then we'll meet with the client, and also it depends on the complexity of design or how ornate the design is. Um, then once we meet with the client, we'll go through and then we'll sit down with them and just here's the elevations, here's the floor plan, here's the 3D rendering of what the room's going to look like, and here's the estimates of what we project the interior costs with the AV system costs. So they have everything in front of them to make a decision. What do you want to do? And then we might have a revision process where we have to kind of go back and tweak some things. And that only takes about a week or so to kind of clean up what we've got from that meeting as far as massaging it and getting this right. Once they sign off on it, though, yeah, they're good with the budget. They're good with the estimates. They're good with the design. They've signed off on it. We steamroll right into the construction set and providing and this is all the trade set that we need to start giving to the framer and the electrician and the HVAC contractor and whoever else might be involved. And in our own team, too, for the low voltage pre-wire, for doing all the pre-wire. Because our team does all the pre-wire for our in-house theaters. If we're doing it. Otherwise, we're working with the AV dealer to have them do that portion of it. But the pre-construction brackets in for the speakers, the whole 9 yards, you know how that goes. So,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a time. You're restricted to availability of others as
Right.
well on that.
So preliminary design phase is that 2 to 3 week window. Once we have the sign off from that, then it's about 3 to 4 weeks to produce the construction set. Sometimes less than that. So I'm overestimating, but say 2 to 3 weeks to produce all those trade sets. Then at that point, it's in the hands of the builders, and we're working with them. We're just project managing at that point. As the builder
Yeah.
on task, we're waiting for contractor build out to happen.
Yeah.
Then we'll dip in to do our pre-wire at the right moment. Right after electrical, and right before installation. We dip in to put our stuff in, and then we'll all start getting closed up, and then we're coming in at the end to take care of the interior. And so we've got trim out. We got pre-wire, then we have trim out, and we have finish. Our three main jobs. Times we visit the site, but typically, like especially when we're out of state, man, we design it such that when we go there, we're hitting the ground and we're done in 3 or 4 days. Turn out the whole thing, everything turnkey.
Wow.
We're out. There's movie
That's
night in
pretty
4
fast.
days. Yeah. So we try to design like especially if we're doing the gear. That's why I'll rack the equipment here. We'll test it here. We'll do everything here, and send out those racks completely ready to go.
Oh, wow.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we get on site, we take out the big heavy shit like the amps and the UPS and all that stuff, and then we'll pop that in right before we're about to install, and then we're just connecting speakers, going through calibration testing, things of that nature. But we try to get it up and running within a week at most.
Oh,
Dave,
gotcha.
I
Okay,
wanted to
so
ask.
you'll
wanted to ask-
pre-wire the rack and everything, and have all the cable management ready, and
Everything.
take all the heavy stuff out, send it, and then just assemble. Because that takes forever when you're doing.
Oh, it
stuff.
does. Yeah,
But
and
if
sometimes
you're
we
doing
have
it while they're building, it's kind of like, well, that's out of the way. So
and
that's
sometimes we don't get
that's
that
awesome.
luxury, and that does add extra days. I mean, it could be 2 days just on the rack. It could be 2 or 3
Yep.
days just on the rack.
Oh yeah.
So
Yep.
we got 2 guys, or 1 or 2 guys just dedicated. Okay, you focus on the rack while we're putting the interior together, or doing this and to get it done. Because if I could avoid it, but I do hate building racks on site. I'd rather build it here and ship it completely. But sometimes you don't get that luxury. You have to build it on site.
It's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you handle a calibration? Do y'all simply use whatever calibration software that comes with the processor, or do you guys actually do that on site using software like RUW or something else?
Well, like on the higher end systems, we usually have it'll be somebody from JBL coming out, or we'll hire or Ethan or Bordeaux, one of our acoustician guys. They'll do all the high end calibrations on the systems. On the low end systems, we'll do Dirac. Whatever it's like, if it's Dirac or if it's available on the system, we'll run it through its normal calibration, and then I've got a handful of guys that I know I can bring in if they want to dial it anymore, if they're ready to pay for that service to have it, custom calibrated, if you will. But if it's, I've been pretty happy with sometimes, what Dirac can do. I'm pretty impressed with it in some cases.
Dirac's what I have in my room. I have an HTP1 in my room, and I've been crazy impressed with Dirac.
Yeah, I mean, it does. For a lot of systems that if you just take care. Now, you still want to. I always say don't rely on it completely. Listen to it with your own ears. Let your ears decide. Did you like it? You don't have to accept the results of what you're getting. Listen to it. See if you like it. If you don't like it, adjust it how. Sometimes you're the best source of what your room should sound like. Your ear
100%.
brain. So do the calibration. Hear it. Make your own judgment sometimes.
Not everybody likes that Harman curve, right? I mean, because that's what most of the room correction is designed towards, right? It's the Dirac and Odyssey. Their target curve is the Harman curve, but so if you're not, if that's something that you don't like, what do they call it? The smiley face, right? if that's something you don't like, you like Abe said, use your own ears and make your own adjustments, right? Because you're the one that has to like your system.
Some people like Vivid on their TV,
Oh my God.
Don't do that. Have it any other way. And if you calibrate it, they'll be like, oh God, that looks like garbage.
Yeah. I love coming in too late for the calibration video, and they've got so used to Vivid, like they think that's the way it's got to be. And when you calibrate, like I can't see nothing. Like
yeah,
you got to adjust.
So have you designed any theaters with like 100-inch, some of these new 100-inch TVs, or anything like that? Have you designed any theaters with just TV, not projection, not a video wall?
Very rare we get TVs. Yeah, we're still doing two-piece projection because we're doing a lot of times we're doing CinemaScope theaters, and so we need to use. And our go-to is Barco. We love Barco. We're definitely pro Barco. Those CinemaScope projectors, the Balder, the Bragi, they're amazing.
Gosh, you'll be
Excellent.
selling a lot more barcodes now that they have that, $60,000 projector.
It's
That's a super affordable projector there,
yeah,
comparatively.
and we do love the Sonys. We do a lot of the Sony 7000, 6000, now the 6100, 7100s, and those are great projectors. But Barcos are my favorite when I'm doing high-end theaters. They just do such a good job. And then right now, our big marriage is putting those with Mad VR, like the NV Extreme. A lot of great results pairing up like an NV Extreme with like a Barco Balder or Bragi. Excellent results on a scope setup. You can't, in my opinion, you can't beat it. It's just so crisp, clean. The motion is just smooth. So we've been very happy with the results of pairing up. Now I'm still not wanting to try to calibrate this myself, so I'll get like those guys that come out and calibrate it. And you go figure out because they can make it sing.
Yeah.
Right.
Make it really good.
Yeah, no, I got to see the Barco. I got to see the Christie at M Wave. Definitely very nice projectors for both of them. Definitely throwing out some super high lumens to get you that HDR. And that's, I think those are what, DLP chips too, right? Those are DLP. I believe
Laser, laser.
Yeah, laser light.
Laser.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
So, Abe, how can someone reach you? How can someone, if they're interested in services or panels or advice? Do you do just consulting also? If somebody wants, is that something you do?
We can. I mean, definitely reach out to us at 3dsquared.com. You can reach us on our contact there. You can reach me on our website there. In fact, we've got a new number for our Atlanta office. So I think if you go to our contact page on there, let me see. You go to it. Contact. Okay. I don't know if, you don't see my screen. Do I need to share it again?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, so that's so we got our number in Boca. That's Glenn's office, and then my office is in Atlanta, 770-450-9872. Now you also can email me directly. My email is just Abe, ABE, at 3dsquared.com. So you're welcome to email me. In fact, he needs to change that and put Abe at 3D Squared down there in Atlanta. I'll have to fuss at him. But definitely welcome to call us. We have done some consulting, and in some cases we've been hired just to do this theater design where we just we're kind of DIY. In fact, we had a client in Auburn. He was a custom builder, and he was gung ho. He was a gung ho DIY, but he knew. He saw the benefit and he saw the value in hiring a company like us to do the design. And he loved it. He appreciated it so much. And his theater turned out beautiful. And we were very impressed with his skills. He did such an amazing job with what we gave. But he said he couldn't have done it without the help of our plan because it gave him a direction to go. He knew what he had to do. And so he said it was worth every penny. And that, he still could enjoy the DIY process, but all that thinking had been done for him. Was like, am I doing it right? Or what do I got to do? And he loved it. He could just have fun building. And that's what he wanted. He just wanted to enjoy the process of building. And he knew what he had to build, and he got to put it together and see it come to completion. And he was a kid in a candy shop, and it was his work. And we said, this is your theater. You did it. You built it. We just gave you the blueprints, but you built it. That's your room. It's more yours than us, and he loved the feeling of it. And so he said, and he's been a great resource. Of like, if ever need to explain to people the value, like, go talk to this guy. He'll definitely explain to you. Definitely, it'll help so much. It'll make your job a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy the process a whole lot more.
So Richard here says these pictures remind me of that old magazine called Audio Video Interiors. So that's funny that you say that, Richard, because in the green room right before the show, Abe and I were just talking about how some of these publications have announced that they are no longer going to be print, right? So some of these home theater magazines that just came out with an announcement that they were no longer going to be printing, services. And Abe has like a stack of magazines up above him that has featured their theaters.
Throughout the last
So
25 years, I got theaters in pretty much every magazine up there in that top shelf, at one form or the other. So yeah, it was kind of nice when you see some of your theaters published either under your name or some others that we've designed for other clients and see it show up. I do miss the magazines too. Yeah, I kind of miss that.
So you had mentioned before, and obviously you won't ever mention the customers, but you guys have won awards for designs that other dealers have put together. Like you said, they source you to be able to design a theater for them, and then they become just the integrator. That's correct, right?
Yeah. So we've worked with quite a few AV dealers who have won best in show awards at CEDIA that have we've consulted on or provided design work for as under them, sometimes even under their title blocks, they, depending on the arrangement we have. So we're kind of like the ghostwriter, if you will, of some of these theaters. So we know we did it. And that's what matters to us, and the check cleared. So that was the other thing. So,
that's the most important part, right?
that's the most important part. So it's like, okay, I'm okay that they got the credit because I know that's still going to come back to us. So when they get the next job, they're going to use this again because they got to repeat that magic of how they got that award, and we're part of that magic sauce. So we enjoy that experience. So we're okay with that. We're okay being kind of under the radar. I mean, we've designed for other theater design companies.
Wow.
So it's like I said, we don't mind it. We don't mind it. Because we enjoy what we do. It gives us an opportunity to do what we do, and we get to see a plethora. We see so many different types of styles of theaters and amazing homes and amazing clients, and so we just enjoy the journey. We just enjoy all the places it takes us. We have fun with it.
So those of you who don't know, 3D Squared has a YouTube page also. So make sure you go over there, subscribe, like their videos, look at some of their designs. You can also go to their website and look. But Abe, we definitely appreciate you joining us tonight. Just been an educational experience for me throughout the whole show, and I'm hoping that other people will get the same benefit that I felt that I got. Make sure you guys contact Abe over at 3D Squared. Not only are they dealers for equipment, but they're also designers, panel, acoustic panels, diffusion. They pretty much do it all over there. So make sure you guys reach out to them, get a hold of Abe, and I'm sure you'll be in good hands after that. But thank you everyone for joining the show. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please send us an email to hometheaterhub@gmail.com. We'd love to have you on for a discussion. If you've been on the show, you're always welcome. You got the link. We haven't changed the link since we started. So you're always welcome to pop in and pop out. Abe, that invite goes to you also, sir. We're on every Thursday night. If you want to just come in and talk, anything home theater related or AV related, whatever is on your mind for that evening, you're more than welcome to, sir. So
no, I appreciate that. And it was a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this. I enjoyed meeting all of you and having this conversation. So definitely, I will definitely look forward to jumping in again and just having fun. So definitely
Yeah,
I appreciate
I appreciate it. It's good. I like
Yep.
it. I like
No, it's a good time.
I like what you
Hey,
do. And
I
how
did
you do
want
it.
to throw out. I want to throw out a little bit of news. I don't know if I don't. I know 100% it's not widely known. Crix, the Australian brand of speaker, now has has a U.S. distributor. So they're
Nice.
gonna they are gonna be looking for dealers here locally. They'll start selling speakers. I'm very excited about it.
That's good.
I might
Yeah.
be one of the big first households with a wall of sound. I'm stoked. If you don't know who they are, look them up.
Yeah, check
MX
out
Wall of
Tony's
Sound.
channel, Build Montage.
Yeah.
Also, he's a big supporter of Crix. So and I think his whole theater is nothing but Crix. So
It's a
Yeah.
lot
I
of
love.
Crix. It's all
Yeah. That
Crix.
that wall of sound is. If I ever had a choice, I would go with that. They just look good, man.
And now that they're here, I've only ever heard their bookshelf speakers at a show a few years ago, and now that they're here, I think that's going to be happening. I'm
that'll be
super
awesome.
excited. Thanks
Well,
all.
Abe,
I
if
appreciate
you wouldn't mind just holding on for a second, but thank you so much, everyone, for joining the show. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
See
Have a
you
good one.
next week. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.